Hey everyone, how are you all? Today we will see what if Naruto is Artemis' fiance. If you enjoy, then please like and do comments. It was a cold summer night in Konoha, quite unusual given the area they were in. The land of fire was not known to have very cold weather at all. It was even coincidental given that the day was a commemoration of the defeat of the Kyuubi. Hide, the fourth Hokage Minato Namikaze, gave his life to defeat the fox. Though that is a lie, what very few people know was that he had given his life to seal the fox within a young boy born that day. Even fewer knew that the boy was his son Uzumaki Naruto. This is his story. Since his birth he was hated by the populace of Konoha. Since his birth coincided with the death of the Kyuubi, they thought the boy to be his reincarnation. They hated the boy for things beyond his control. Stores threw him out as soon as he entered. The few that served him gave him the expired or rotten food that they held on just to sell to him at triple their usual rates. And as soon as he turned 4, the orphanage threw him out into the streets, saying that he didn't deserve to have parents at all. Worst of all, they formed mobs at least once a week to organize a fox hunt wherein they chased Naruto all over Konoha and beat him an inch to death if they caught him. Hospitals were no better as they refused to heal Naruto, often giving the bare needed care, doing surgery if he needed without anesthetic, or closing up his wounds without applying disinfectant. It was hell for Naruto. Where was all the people supposed to watch him, you ask? The Anbu who were assigned to watch him often let the mobs form and often did nothing to help Naruto at all and just stayed on the sidelines and watched with a morbid fascination. The only few who did watch him were 2 purple-haired Anbu codenamed Neko and Habi, whose real names were Azuki Yugo and Mitarashi Anko respectively. They were 2 of the few Konoha citizens who held no ill will toward Naruto at all. Instead, they pitied him. They helped him out by restocking his refrigerator and pulling him out of the way of mobs. Though this was not very often, as the civilian council knew of this and often sent them on long-term missions out of Konoha, leaving Naruto to fend for himself. Those who knew Naruto was the son of the 4th did nothing as well. The 3rd Hokage secretly blamed Naruto for the death of his wife, who was Kushina's midwife during his birth and was killed during the release of the Kyuubi. The only surviving student of the 4th, Hitaki Kakashi, blamed Naruto for the death of the 4th and was the one who secretly organized the mobs who hunted Naruto. This was the life of Naruto for the whole 6 years of his life, but I digress. This cold day on October 10 was the remembrance of the Kyuubi's defeat in Naruto's birth. You could hear the people celebrating merrily. If you were a passerby, you would think this to be a happy place to settle, tricked by the facade of Konoha's mirth. His night was not so special to 2 people. One was Naruto, another was a woman who is a goddess who had lost her husband this day. She had decided to visit Konoha this day to pay her respects to her husband and see how her son was doing. Damnable ancient laws, if only they never existed. I could have raised you like I wanted, Sochi, the woman thought to herself as she kept herself disguised with the mist. A force she created to help those connected to supernatural realm. Hearing a commotion in an alleyway, she decided to investigate since she had nothing but time on her hands. As soon as she arrived, what she saw horrified her immensely. There in the alleyway was a young boy with yellow hair no older than 6, covered in his own blood. What horrified her more was the 6 whisker-like marks on his cheeks, which was what had made her son very recognizable to her. This was her son in the alley, covered in his own blood, dumped there as if he was garbage. Running towards her son, she materialized pieces of golden food known as ambrosia, the food of the gods with healing properties. She made sure not to give him too much, as those without full godhood die when they consume too much. Placing his head on her lap, she began to stroke his hair, removing the dried pieces of blood caked in his hair. "Oh Sochi, I'm so sorry for leaving you here in this place. I should have brought you with me at least," the woman said as she looked over her son, getting angrier by the second. She had found wounds that had yet to close. Some were infected and pus-ridden. It didn't help that it looked like Naruto was malnourished, since she could see his bones sticking out from under his skin. "Hey lady, don't you know who that is? Why don't you leave him there and come with me? How I can show you a good time," she heard a man say from the entrance of the alleyway, obviously drunk. "Back of, I'm in no mood to talk with the likes of you," the woman said angrily as she cradled Naruto's head closer to her chest. "Hey, come on, just leave that piece of shit and come already, ya damn bitch," the man said, unknowingly angering the goddess, who began flaring her godly energy, which shone like a bright light shimmering around her. Startled, the man began backpedaling until he fell over a garbage can he didn't know was behind him. "Hey, I was just kidding, you know. The man said pitifully as he backed up against the wall. I fear of the woman who was exuding godly energy. Yes, and this is also a joke. The woman said as she created a few blades made out of the mist that hovered in midair, which just as suddenly as it appeared launched at the man, impaling him, killing him on the spot with the blades turning back into mist. Hey, who are you and why do you have the Jinchuriki in your arms? The woman heard a new voice enter the alleyway looking to see the third Hokage and a few Anbu with him. Here is, and you know I left my son in your charge and this is how you treat him. The woman said to the old man who was the third Hokage. Who are you, woman? The third Hokage demanded of the woman. Dropping the mist disguise revealing who she was, the Anbu with the third Hokage knelt down on one knee and said as one, Lady Hecate, welcome back. This shocked the third Hokage as he knew who this woman was and how powerful she was, and immediately fell prostrate as well. Ignoring the pleas of the third, she just simply stated, I care not for your excuses, old man. If I had my way I would level this place to the ground, but Minato would not want that, so I will simply take Naruto away from this place to my own home. Farewell, third Hokage, hope that our paths never meet again. Hecate said as she and Naruto vanished in a flash of light, leaving the third and Anbu alone in the alleyway, never to be seen again. Back in some forest with the hunters of Artemis. Milady, what hast thou so bothered? A woman in her teens asked a young girl barely in her teens. It's nothing, Zoe, I'm just waiting for Hecate to arrive. She said she has a favor to ask of me. The girl said just as a bright light flashed in front of them revealing Hecate and a bloodied boy in her arms. Hecate, it's good to see you, but why have you brought a boy to my camp? The girl asked Hecate. Please Artemis, it's my son, Hecate told Artemis. Your son, then why is he here instead of that camp? The now identified Artemis asked. Please watch his memories first, Hecate begged Artemis, nearly at tears. Sigh, very well, but I will want my hunters to watch it as well, Artemis said finally. Nodding in agreement, she waited till all the hunters were gathered around before showing the memories of her son in hopes of getting Artemis to agree with what she was going to ask. Finally viewing the memories, Artemis and her hunters had found a renewed hatred for men, but also a pity for Naruto, who was being cradled in his mother's arms. How dare they do that to a child? Milady, let us take action against those men. Those were some of the cries being echoed out in Artemis's camp at the moment. So Artemis, here is the favor I wished to ask of you. Would you please look after my son until he is old enough to survive the world on his own, as I cannot raise him myself? Hecate asked Artemis, which stunned everyone at the hunters' camp. Very well, Hecate, I will watch over I am as well as my hunters. I believe we can mold I am into a good man, won't we, girls? Artemis said, which received a, of course, Lady Artemis, from the hunters. Thanks Artemis, I leave him with you then, Hecate said as she handed Naruto over to a now older-looking Artemis, who received Naruto into her arms. Goodbye Sochi, I'll see you again soon, Hecate said before flashing away to some other area. Well, Zoe, looks like we have a child to raise, doesn't it? Artemis said as she smiled at the prone form of Naruto. She had a different opinion of Naruto from other males since he was very respectful from what she saw of his memories, unlike other men. Indeed, milady, I believe all 9 sisters wish to care for Lady Hecate's child, Zoe said respectfully as she watched the boy snuggled in Artemis's arms. Well, shall I take Naruto to my tent for now? He has need for companionship? Zoe asked Artemis. No, I shall take him for now, Artemis said as she went to her tent to lay Naruto down and get some rest herself. It's bound to be a fun time for the hunters with Naruto around now, Artemis thought to herself as she closed her eyes, not realizing what she had thought couldn't be farther from the truth. It was the middle of the day in the forest. Here we see the camp of the hunters as they went about their duties. Some were hunting for breakfast, the others were practicing their archery, while some were just idle and were talking to each other. Their leader Artemis was nowhere to be seen this morning, seeing as her second-in-command and Lieutenant Zoe was searching for her. Has thou seen milady? Zoe asked one of the other hunters who was not doing anything at the moment. I'm sorry Zoe, but I have yet to see Lady Artemis exit her tent from last night, the hunter answered as she left Zoe to another part of the camp. Hearing this, Zoe left for Artemis's tent, which was located in the middle of the camp right next to the campfire, and as she approached the front of the tent she called out to Artemis. If she was awake, getting no response, she decided to enter. Lifting the flaps of Artemis's tent, she entered only to see a still asleep Artemis who had eye bags under her eyes and a wide-awake little blonde boy who was now seated and was staring at the new arrival in the tent. Ah, I see thou must have tired milady out, huh? Zoe said with a smile as she approached the young Naruto with a smile on her face, getting a tilted head for a response. She held her hand out for Naruto to take, only for him to back away. "I am not going to hurt thee, I swear," Zoe said as she continued to smile while still extending her hand towards Naruto, who eventually took her extended hand. "Come on, I believe thine sisters wish to see thee," Zoe said in her usual Shakespearean way of speaking while she gently dragged Naruto along out of Artemis's tent. As Zoe exited Artemis's tent, she was bombarded by the other hunters who saw her enter their lady's tent, only to see her exit with Naruto in tow, whom they now saw as their younger brother due to his sad and painful past. Naruto himself was confused and a little afraid due to the amount of people who seemed to want to hug him. It was his first time to be near many people and they weren't hurting him at all. Zoe noticed his shocked face and decided to ask, "What has thou so shocked, brother?" "I'm not used to being near many people," Naruto answered as he looked down at the ground only to receive a hug from Zoe and a pat on the back from the other hunters. "Why are you being so nice to me? No one is never nice to me," Naruto asked with tears starting to leak out of the corners of his eyes. "Thy mother showed us thine life until now. We saw how thou were treated in that place and thine mother asked us to watch over thou, so we see thou as a brother," Zoe answered as she continued to hug Naruto. "My mother, is she here? The old man told me she died," Naruto asked, his interest now perked since his mother was mentioned. "No, your mother is still alive and well, and before you think she abandoned you, our family has rules that say we cannot raise our own children, and so when your mother went back to the elemental nations and found you in an awful state, she healed you and brought you to me." Naruto heard someone answer from behind him, looking to see the lady who he woke up beside. Who are you?" Naruto asked with a tilted head, which the hunters and Artemis found cute. "My name is Artemis, the goddess of the hunt and wilderness, chastity and maidenhood, and of the moon, young Naruto," Artemis answered. "Whoa, that's cool. So mom left me with a goddess," Naruto remarked. "But where is mom? You said she left me with you, so is she here?" Naruto digressed. "Sai, your mother could not raise you due to our laws, and so she left you with me for now," Artemis answered. "I see, that sucks," Naruto said with a downcast look on his face, only to receive a slap to the back of his head. "Ouch, what was that for?" Naruto asked the perpetrator, who was Zoe. "Mind thy language," Zoe said with a slight glare. "Sorry," Naruto said while looking down at the ground. "Well, art thou hungry?" Zoe asked with a smile on her face. Naruto only nodded as his answer, making Zoe chuckle and motion for Naruto to follow her. Time skip. Naruto age 10. "Is this right?" Naruto asked Zoe, who was in charge of teaching Naruto archery since Artemis was at a meeting. "Yes, though thou might want to pull thy arm further back a bit," Zoe said as she watched Naruto improve his archery stance. Letting go of the arrow, Naruto watched as it hit near the center target. "Very good, brother, just keep trying some more," Zoe said as she encouraged Naruto to try some more. "Okay, I'll try some more," Naruto said as he picked up another arrow that was set beside him. He tried for another 4 shots with only half hitting the bullseye. "That's enough for now, rest for a bit, then we'll work on thy skill with the hunting dagger," Zoe told Naruto as she handed him a canteen of water. Resting for several minutes, Naruto finally got up and brought out the hunting daggers that were strapped to his back into a fighting position, with Zoe doing the same. The spar went relatively fast as Naruto lunged at Zoe, only for her to dodge to the side and smash the hilt of her dagger into Naruto's rib. Stunned from the hit, Zoe followed up with a slash to Naruto's hand, which Naruto barely blocked with his own dagger. Only for Zoe to kick it out of his hand, then proceeded to pin his other arm to his side and point her remaining dagger at Naruto's neck. "I win again," Zoe said with a smile as she separated from Naruto. "You, it sure seems so," Naruto says as he gets into another fighting stance. Both continued to practice for the whole afternoon until it was time to eat. The next day, here we find Naruto walking through the forest looking for something to shoot with his bow and arrow, hoping to impress his sisters and his aunt figure Artemis. Trudging through the forest, he had yet to find a single animal beyond a few birds which he shot down and trudged along with him, and a few deers which are sacred to Artemis, so he can't and will not harm those. Hearing a rustle among the bushes, he readied his bow thinking a big game had come along. Throwing a rock into the bushes to lure out whatever was hiding behind them, he was shocked to hear a yelp of pain. "Ouch, who the hell threw that?" Naruto heard as a tall blonde boy around 10 years of age come out behind the bush holding his head in pain. Sorry, I thought you were a wild animal hiding behind a bush. Ignoring that, what are you doing in these woods? Naruto asked cautiously as his sisters told him not to interact with other males for this time and he should be cautious around them. Hey, no need to be aggressive here, I'm just passing by his forest with my companions, besides shouldn't a kid like you be with your parents, and who lets a kid carry a bow anyway? The boy replied to Naruto. I am here with my sisters who trained me to use my bow. Now where are your so-called companions? Naruto said suspiciously, getting ready to attack should the other male prove violent. They're over there behind you, the boy said as he pointed behind Naruto, and as Naruto looked behind him he came face to face with the business end of a spear held by what appeared to be a goth girl. Hey Luke, who is the brat? The girl asked the boy. I dunno Talia, he just came out of nowhere, Luke answered. Hey brat, where did you come from? Talia said as she kept the spear pointed at Naruto's neck. Put down your spear or we'll fill you with arrows, girl, Naruto heard Phoebe say from the trees behind him, looking to see that Phoebe was indeed there with a few other hunters scaring Luke and Talia, who promptly backed off from Naruto. Naruto, are you alright? Phoebe asked the now safe Naruto. Yes, I'm fine, thanks for the save sis, Naruto said as he wiped some sweat that was on his forehead. Now what are you two doing here, and is the girl down by the stream with you? Phoebe interrogated Luke and Talia. We're here just passing by looking for Camp Half-Blood, and yes, we are with the girl by the river. Where is she? Luke answered. She is fine, we saved her from being eaten by a crocodile due to your negligence, Phoebe said as she glared at both Luke and Talia, pointing at the girl who was asleep in one of the hunter's arms. Since you're here, come with us, our lady wishes to speak to you, Phoebe said as the hunters surrounded the duo, forcing them to follow Phoebe and Naruto back to the hunter's camp. Stopping at the front of the central tent where Artemis resides most of the time, they came face to face with Zoe, who saw the group approach the camp. Phoebe, who art these outsiders? Zoe asked. We saved the young one while the older two were threatening Naruto, Phoebe answered honestly, making several hunters who did go with the group tighten their grip of their bows as they were all fond of Naruto. I see, then why aren't they here? Zoe asked once more as she glared at the outsiders. We believed that Lady Artemis would like to see them first, Phoebe answered. Fine, but the boy stays out here, Zoe said as she glared at Luke. What, why should I all go with them? Luke tried to insist but was stopped by the sound of several arrows being aimed at him. Or I can stay out here, Luke said, putting his hands up in surrender. Come, Zoe said as Phoebe and Naruto entered Artemis's tent with Talia and a still asleep girl. Zoe, who are they? Artemis asked as soon as she saw the two girls whom she did not recognize. They are the ones whom my sisters have come across. They appear to be demigods looking for Camp Half-Blood, Zoe answered as she bowed to Artemis. I see, wake the girl, she must be awake for what I offer, Artemis said, nodding in understanding. Hearing this, Talia gently shook the girl awake. Talia, where are we? Who are they? The girl asked as she rubbed the sleep out of her eyes. We're in Lady Artemis' camp and they are her hunters and Lady Artemis herself, Annabeth, Talia answered as she helped Annabeth into a more comfortable position. Now that you're awake, I offer you a chance to join me and my hunters to be trained and live a free life, not fearing the monsters that hunt demigods, as you will be if you go to the camp of demigods. Artemis offered to the two girls. That's a nice offer, but there must be a downside, right? Talia asked, just to be sure, since the deal sounded too good to be true. Indeed, you must swear off men for the rest of your life or you will be forced to leave the camp, Artemis said, with both Zoe and Phoebe nodding. What, but I can't leave Luke, we've been together for a while now and we've always helped each other, Talia said in shock at the thought of having to abandon her friend whom she was starting to develop a crush on. Thy mind will change soon enough, all men aside from our brother all betray thee in time, Zoe said. Luke will never betray us, Talia said while glaring at Zoe. Zoe, that's enough, it appears they will not join us for now while that boy is around, show them out please. Naruto, please stay, Artemis said as she dismissed the group. Naruto, are you alright? Artemis asked Naruto as he remained seated. Yes, I'm sorry for being such a burden, Naruto said as he was disappointed in himself for being caught unaware by Talia. Moving closer to Naruto, she enveloped him in a hug. It's not your fault, Naruto. Now we only have a few years left together before my father begins to notice a male at my camp, Artemis tells Naruto gently as Sei soothes his worry. I know, auntie, I wish this lasted longer though, Naruto said as he was now relaxed. Don't worry though, every time you come across us on your journey you can stay with us for a while before you have to leave, or I can have my hunters come to Camp Half-Blood should you ever choose to be there, Artemis said. Well, come on, it's almost time for dinner. I believe Zoe managed to catch a bear, Artemis says to Naruto as she leaves her tent with Naruto in tow. It has been a few months since Naruto was released from the hunter's camp. It was a tearful day for them all, and shockingly enough even for Artemis. She had grown attached to Naruto and saw him as her son, and appropriately Naruto was allowed to call her mother as well. He had left the camp of the hunters with a few promises that he was allowed to stay with them should he encounter them on his travels, or they would visit Camp Half-Blood more often if he joined. So now here he was wandering the streets of New York and looking at the fine establishments of the area, making sure to pay proper respects to its deity benefactor as he was taught by Artemis and Hecate, who often came to visit Naruto and train him in magic and manipulation of mist. He was dressed in a regular pair of dark jeans with a pair of sneakers on his feet. He was wearing a silver shirt which was mostly covered by a dark jacket he got as a gift from Hecate, which allowed him to become invisible at will. So here he was walking down the street until he came across a museum of ancient Greece. Finding himself interested, he entered the museum in search of artifacts belonging to his mothers. And here we have a statue of the memory of the story of the gods. Mr. Jackson, can you tell me what this statue is about? Naruto heard a voice far ahead of him say, must be a tour group or something, might as well check it out, Naruto thought to himself. That's a statue of Kronos devouring his kids, right? Naruto saw a young boy a year younger than him answer. He had black hair and green eyes. Yes, can you tell me why? The man asked again. Because he was afraid of his kids ruling over him, Naruto answered for the kid when he saw the clueless look on his face. Yes, that's correct. Though who are you? I don't recognize you. Naruto saw the man who was asking questions. He appeared to be in his late 40s and was bound in a wheelchair, which he saw quite a lot of mist surrounding it. Must be a blessed item then, Naruto thought as he took note of the wheelchair the man was in. Oh, I'm sorry, was this a class or something? I thought it was a tour group, Naruto answered while scratching his cheek in embarrassment. Oh, quite all right, young man, it's nice to see people still interested in these sort of things, the man said with a gentle smile on his face. Class dismissed for now, please take your break outside, the man said as he showed the class away. Now my name is Mr. Brunner, what's yours, young man? The teacher introduced himself. Naruto Uzumaki, Naruto said as he extended his hand for the teacher to shake. Now can you tell me why your chair is surrounded by mist? Naruto asked, to which the teacher's eyes widened in shock. How did you? The teacher started but was cut off. I'm a demigod, Naruto answered. I see, then you may use my real name, Kirin. Kirin said to Naruto, getting out of his chair while making sure nobody was around. I see, so you're the camp director of Camp Half-Blood, right? Naruto asked. Yes, that's right, will you be coming? Kirin replied. Maybe I am fine with wandering around though, Naruto answered with a shrug. Well, if you aren't too busy, may I ask a favor of you? Kirin asked Naruto in all seriousness. Do I get something out of it? Naruto inquired. Yes, I will give you some golden drachmas for your trouble, Kirin said. Very well, what is this favor? Naruto asked. Please watch over Percy for now, he is the kid whom you answered for. Kirin said as the two went deeper in the museum with Kirin in his wheelchair again. I see, so he is a demigod as well, huh? Naruto said, stating the obvious. Yes, probably one of the big three, but I still don't know which one, Kirin said as he rubbed his chin in thought. Probably Poseidon, as they look alike. From what I can remember when I visited Olympus, they have the same green eyes. Naruto says as they move on, shocking Kirin once again. You've been to Olympus? Kirin asks, to be sure. Yeah, ever since Lord Zeus learned of me I have been summoned once in a while for a quest from one of the Olympians or Lady Hestia, sometimes even the minor gods as well call for me. Naruto answers, which Kirin widens his eyes at. Ah, so you're the one who gets all their quests. Now I was wondering who they were going to. Kirin mumbles as he had noticed quests had not gone to the camp for quite some time since Luke had failed his quest. Kirin was aware gods were very fond of giving quests, and since they were not given to the camp he now knew they were given to Naruto, which spoke highly of his abilities as well as his stature if the gods were willing to give quests to him alone. Sorry about that, Naruto says as he rubs the back of his neck. No problem at all, you didn't know, Kirin replies. As they walked on they heard a shout down the hall. Running, or in Chiron's case wheeling down the hall, they saw a Fury attacking Percy. Where is it? Give it to me, the Fury says to Percy as he dodges a swipe from the Fury's claws. "What ho, Percy," Chiron shouts as he threw a ball pen at Percy which he catches. "What is this supposed to do?" Percy questions as he clicks the pen which transforms it into a sword before his very eyes. Seeing that it had become a sword, he went on swiping at the Fury blindly in an uncontrollable manner, somehow managing to kill the Fury, who exploded in a shower of golden dust. Seeing this, Naruto and Chiron left the room to make the mist more convincing when it made a random story up. "Well, this is where we part ways for now. Don't worry, I will keep an eye on Percy," Naruto says as he walks away out of sight. "Ah, Percy, there you are, please bring your own writing utensils next time," Naruto hears Chiron say before he got out of earshot. A few days later, we find Naruto following Percy like a professional stalker. He somehow kept track of Percy's activities while keeping his distance. Naruto had used his mother's gift to keep himself invisible from Percy, but as for his friend Grover, Naruto was sure Grover had looked right at him, but his worry was relieved when he realized that Grover was just jumpy from the Fury attack. Yes, Naruto could see that Grover was a satyr through the mist. Anyway, back to Naruto. He was now watching as Percy was reviewing for his exam, so instead of just doing something else, he decided to play a prank on Percy. Naruto then proceeded to use the mist to reword the book of mythology Percy was studying, making it hard to understand. For example, he switched descriptions of names or outright changed them. For example, Chiron read Horseman who trains heroes. Chiron read Greedy Old Scrooge. Hercules now read Biggest Jerk of all time. Needless to say, Percy got frustrated and threw his book across the room. "Sigh, I guess I should ask Mr. Brunner for help," Percy tells himself as he picked up his book with Naruto following him invisibly. As soon as Percy reached the office of Mr. Brunner, which was near his dorm room, Percy heard both Mr. Brunner and his friend Grover talking to each other in somewhat hushed tones. "Sir, he saw a kindly one. A kindly one, he's asking too many questions and I don't think I can hide it any longer," Percy and Naruto heard Grover say to Mr. Brunner. "It's just his imagination for now, the mist will hide it up, it will appear to him sooner or later, he was just imagining it," Mr. Brunner replied. "But what about this summer? We have to get him to camp soon before the summer solstice deadline," Grover pleaded. "Don't worry, there is another watching over Percy as well. Let him enjoy his peace for now, it will turn strange soon enough," Mr. Brunner says to Grover, who calms down slightly. It was at this point the book Percy was holding slipped and fell from his arms, making a loud thud on the floor. Alarmed, Percy picked it up and ran as quietly as he could back to the dorm. "What was that?" Grover asked as both he and Mr. Brunner exited his office. "Nothing, just my nerves, they haven't been the same since," Mr. Brunner says to Grover. "Oh, that wasn't nothing, it was Percy spying on you too," Naruto says as he releases his invisibility, shocking Grover and Chiron. "Oh, Naruto, I assume that's an ability you gained from your godly parent?" Chiron asked. "No, it's an ability I get when I wear my jacket, which was a gift from my mother," Naruto explains. "Ah, I see, so it's your mother who's your godly parent," Chiron confirms, to which Naruto nods. "Excuse me, but who are you?" Grover asks, not sure of the person before him. "You'll find out in time, little satyr," Naruto says as he becomes invisible once more. "Sir, is that the one you told me who is watching over Percy?" Grover asks Chiron. "Yes, he will watch over Percy as well, so for now go back to your dorm room, you have an exam tomorrow," Chiron reminds. Grover grumbles as he walks back to the dorm room he shares with Percy. The next day, it was boring for Naruto watching more than 20 students take the test Chiron made for them. As he was so bored, Naruto decided to get a paper discreetly from Chiron's desk and answer it himself in 30 minutes. Replacing it on Chiron's desk with his name, which shocked Chiron. When he saw it, he decided to check it, thinking Naruto wanted to see how he did. To their surprise, Naruto got a perfect score. Too bad he wasn't a student there. After that little entertainment, Naruto went back to watching over Percy, looking over his shoulder to see what Percy had written for his answers, only to be irritated slightly when he saw Percy guessing on a lot of answers. After the test was finished, Naruto found Percy packing his things into his bag, to which he told Grover he was going home to his mother's apartment with Smelly Gabe, to which Grover gave I am the calling card of Camp Half-Blood. "What's Camp Half-Blue?" Percy started to say, but was cut off by Grover. "Don't say its name, Percy, and it's my summer home, just call if you need help," Grover says to Percy reassuringly. The rest of the rip went uneventful except for when the bus they were on stopped in the middle of nowhere, and as the students go out, Naruto saw a shack appear out of nowhere with 3 old ladies sewing what appeared to be a sock. Although Naruto knew better, these were the 3 Fates: Nona, Takuma, and Morta. They were staring right at Percy when Morta clipped a thread which Naruto and Grover meant death was in the future of Percy. Startled by the Fates' declaration, Grover went to the front of the bus and kicked it as hard as he could, which got the engine starting again. The students cheered and the driver patted his back in congratulations. "Darn right. Good thinking, kid." Everyone back on the bus, the driver yelled out as he got the bus started again with everyone aboard. Percy, noticing the subtle differences in his friend, decided to ask him, only to be avoided by Grover's ramblings which Percy could not understand. So when the group reached their stop in New York, Percy did something which irritated Naruto to no end. He ditched Grover as soon as he went to the bathroom. Being raised by the hunters, Naruto could barely tolerate being around so many men, and now here was Percy ditching his friend like a typical male, as Zoe would say, and frankly Percy was proving the beliefs of the hunters right. Sigh, even if I hate this, I got to at least follow Chiron's wish through. As long as he does nothing else wrong, I can at least tolerate this to some extent, since Grover was acting weird, Naruto thought to himself as he followed Percy to his apartment building. Entering the apartment complex where Percy lived, Naruto immediately took note that it was a rather run-down building, most likely something a person won in game of poker from the lack of repairs and its run-down signboard. Following Percy through the hallways, Naruto found it was unsurprisingly almost devoid of life, only one person every few floors. Finally reaching Percy's room, Percy was the first to enter, and before he could close the door, Naruto followed him in. Peering inside, Naruto was disgusted by the sight before him. Inside were 3 fat men, each looking morbidly obese, playing poker, and by the look of it they had been there the whole day. The TV was even on, although no one was watching at all. "So you're back again, huh, kid?" one of the men asked Percy. "Where's my mom?" Percy asked back, not answering or ignoring the man's question. "Working? Got any cash?" the man asked once more. "I don't have any," Percy answered back. "You took a taxi from the bus station, you have $6-7 and change. Somebody who expects to live under this roof ought to carry his own weight. Am I right, Eddie?" the man asked one of his companions. "Come on, Gabe, kid just got back and all," Eddie answered. "Am I right?" Gabe repeated, this time with more force. Eddie, however, didn't answer, instead passed gas with the other friend in synchrony, disgusting Naruto how grown men could live like this. "Fine," Percy said as he scowled and pulled out the change he got from his cab ride. "I wouldn't act so high and mighty if I were you. Your report card game in bird brain," Gabe said, not even looking up from his card game. Leaving Gabe and his buddies behind, Naruto followed Percy to what seemed to be Percy's room, only to find the place filled with empty beer bottles and car magazines. "Home sweet home," Percy said as he put his suitcase down. "Percy, are you home?" Naruto heard a woman's voice come out. "Oh my, you've grown since Christmas." The woman Naruto now identified as Percy's mother came into Percy's room and gave him a hug as she looked him over. This made Naruto smile. He was fond of watching sons connect with their mothers as they reminded him of his time with either Hecate or Artemis. "Hey Sally, how about getting us some bean dip, huh?" Naruto heard Gabe shout across the room, and he could hear Percy's teeth grit in annoyance of Gabe's treatment of his mother. Naruto was no better of as he hated those who mistreated women. "Percy, is there something wrong?" Percy's mother asked. "No," Percy lied through his teeth. "Well, I have a surprise for you. We're going to the beach," Percy heard his mother say. "Montauk?" Percy asked. "Yes, same cabin, 3 nights, Sally confirmed for Percy. "When are we going?" Percy asked. "After I get dressed," his mother answered. "Hey Sally, didn't you hear me?" Gabe said as he appeared at the doorway of Percy's room. "I was on my way, dear. I was just telling Percy about the trip," she told Gabe. "The trip? You mean you were serious about that?" Gabe's eyes squinted in slight anger. "I knew it, he won't let us go." Naruto heard Percy mutter under his breath. "Of course he will, your stepfather is just worried about money. That's all, besides Gabriel won't have to settle for bean dip. I'll make him enough 7-layer dip for the whole weekend, guacamole, sour cream, the works." Naruto heard Percy's mother say. "So this money for your trip, it comes out of your clothes budget, right?" Gabe asked, making sure he was not spending a cent on this trip. "Yes, dear," Percy heard his mother answer. "And you won't take my car anywhere but there and back," Gabe confirmed. "We'll be very careful," Percy's mother answered. Maybe if you hurry with that 7-layer dip. And maybe if the kid apologizes for interrupting my poker game. Gabe said. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry I interrupted your incredibly important poker game. Please go back to it right now. Percy said half-heartedly. Yeah, whatever, Gabe said as he left. Thank you, Percy. Once we get to Montauk we'll talk more about whatever you've forgotten to tell me, okay? Percy's mom said to him. Naruto watched as the mother and son duo went to get ready for their trip. Even Gabe stopped playing poker for a while to give some warning to Percy. Not a scratch on this cardboard brain, not one little scratch. Gabe threatened Percy. As Naruto watched Percy and his mother drive off, he immediately turned off his invisibility and quietly snuck up on Gabe as he was about to go back to his game. Grabbing Gabe from behind, shocking him slightly, Naruto went and gave a warning of his own. You know that woman deserves more than you, so does her son, and if I see you doing something like that again I will end your miserable mortal life, understand? Naruto threatened, to which Gabe nodded. Not wanting to let Gabe off easily, Naruto knocked him out, leaving him on the stairwell. Now how to get there? Naruto thought to himself as he searched for his way to Montauk. Montauk later that night. Damn it, where could they be? Naruto thought to himself as he searched for signs of Percy and his mother. Finally locating the car they borrowed from Gabe, suddenly the wind started to pick up, the sure telltale signs of a storm. Seeing something moving in the distance, Naruto moved to follow it, finding it to be Grover in full satyr form. Running through the rain that had just started to fall, to start of a heavy downpour as Naruto would notice. Casting a minor spell to keep the rain from touching his skin, Naruto followed Grover. It looks like rain falls on him, but it slips past his body so he stays dry. Following Grover, he managed to find him approach a hut by the sea where he found Gabe's car, which Percy and his mother borrowed from Gabe. Approaching the hut, he found that they were wide awake. From Grover's entrance he could see that Percy's mother and Grover were running to the car and that they had left him behind as they headed for Camp Half-Blood. Damn, took me a few hours to find them and now I was ditched again, Naruto thought as he followed them to Camp Half-Blood, only to stop as he heard a large bellow from behind him. Looking behind to see a minotaur coming out of the woods just behind him. Interesting, Naruto thought as he jumped out of the way of the minotaur, who charged straight at him. Before the minotaur could turn around and charge at him again, he merely chanted out, "Astrape, lightning," which allowed Naruto to manipulate the already present lightning and focus it into a giant beam of electricity and sent it straight at the minotaur's chest, killing it instantly. Of course Naruto could generate his own electricity, but it was better to use the already present electricity to save power. Watching as the minotaur dissolved into gold dust, Naruto approached to pick up his spoil of which was the minotaur's horns. Finally reaching the camp via short teleportation spell, he found that another minotaur was already there and had engaged the group in battle. Moving closer to help Percy, he found that the minotaur had grabbed Percy's mother. "Percy, run," he heard Percy's mother say just before she was engulfed in golden powder, signifying that someone had taken her. "Mom," Percy yelled as he went into a rage. Percy in a rage charged at the minotaur, managing to break one of its horns before he was sent flying back from a backhand from the minotaur. That's enough, Naruto thought as he materialized from the mist a bow and arrow. Aiming carefully, he released the arrow, which hit the minotaur right at its forehead. Bullseye, Naruto thought as he approached the fading form of the minotaur to pick up the other horn. He would let Percy keep the other since he did help somewhat. Moving towards Percy, he found Grover face first on the ground, unconscious. Moving to pick him up, Grover let out a few moans. "Food," Grover said weakly as he was hefted onto Naruto's shoulder. Moving to Percy, Naruto found that he was already attended to by a girl around Percy's age with Chiron right behind her. "I believe you lost this one," Naruto said jokingly as he approached the three. "Grover, what did you do to him?" the blonde girl asked, bringing out a dagger ready to fight. "Whoa there, I didn't do anything, he was already unconscious," Naruto said calmingly. "Fighting was going to do no good here. Annabeth, stand down, he is friendly." "Naruto, I see you have arrived as well," Chiron said as he strutted over to Naruto. "Not too soon to save his mother," Naruto said, looking a bit disappointed with himself. "Things like that happen," Chiron said as he helped Naruto with Grover so Naruto could help Annabeth carry Percy. "Where should we bring them?" Naruto asked as he walked down the hill with Annabeth and Chiron. "Over there, we will let Percy rest in the medical house for now," Chiron said as he pointed over to a hut near the tallest building. Entering, Naruto helped Annabeth put Percy onto a cot while Chiron did the same for Grover. "Well, if that's it, I'll see you guys in the morning," Naruto said as he climbed into a cot, falling asleep almost instantly. "Chiron, who is he?" Annabeth asked Chiron. "A most surprising demigod, I believe he himself will tell you, but for now let them rest, it's not like they will leave suddenly," Chiron said jokingly as he escorted Annabeth out. The next morning, Naruto had finally woken up. He was in full health, he was merely tired from overusing his teleportation spell yesterday. "Good morning," Naruto said as he greeted Annabeth, who was in the room tending to Percy. "Ah, good morning, how are you? Awake? You should be asleep," Annabeth asked bluntly. "It's a gift from my birth, I have always been able to heal very quickly," Naruto answered, not bothered by the bluntness of the question. "Since we haven't really introduced ourselves yesterday, my name is Naruto Uzumaki," Naruto said as he stood up from the cot. Annabeth Chase, your name sounds Japanese," Annabeth replied. "Yeah, you could say I was born in place where we spoke a similar dialect," Naruto said, confusing Annabeth a bit. "What do you mean?" Annabeth asked. "Oh, you'll find out. Where's Chiron?" Naruto asked as he walked to the door. "He's at the big house next to this hut," Annabeth said as she went back to tending for Percy, all the while planning to find out what Naruto was hiding and why did he look familiar to her. Reaching the big house, Naruto saw that Chiron was playing a game with another man. "Lord Dionysus, it's a pleasure to see you here," Naruto said when he recognized the other man who was wearing his distinguishing leopard spot Hawaiian shirt. "Oh brag goody, you're here, perhaps now the camp won't be as dull," Dionysus said with a grin on his face. "I'll try not to disappoint," Naruto said with an equally large grin on his face. "So it is true you do quests for the gods," Chiron said as he stroked his chin in thought. "Yeah, the brat is the only demigod the 12 of us like to use for quests. The brat is trustworthy like that," Dionysus said as he took a sip of his coke. "Well, now what do I get, a tour or something?" Naruto asked Chiron, who brought out a sack of drachma as per their agreement and handed it to Naruto. "Here's your payment and I will have a camper show you around, follow me," Chiron said as he gestured for Naruto to follow him. "Clarice," Chiron shouted out to one of the girls who was passing by and gestured for her to come closer. "Yeah, what do you need, Chiron?" Clarice said gruffly. "Please show Mr. Uzumaki around the camp, one have a master's class to manage," Chiron said as he left Naruto with Clarice. "Well, newbie, follow me," Clarice said roughly as she walked away, meaning for Naruto to follow. "Well, that's one way to give a tour," Naruto thought sarcastically. Naruto followed Clarice around as she showed him around Camp Half-Blood, eventually stopping over in the middle beside the hearth. "Alright, listen up, I'm only going to say this once. The first 2 cabins belong to Zeus and Hera respectively, followed by the third which belonged to Poseidon, the fourth belongs to Demeter, the fifth belongs to Ares, the sixth belongs to Athena, the seventh belongs to Apollo, the eighth belongs to Artemis, the ninth belongs to Hephaestus, the 10th belongs to Aphrodite, the 11th belongs to Hermes, and the 12th belongs to Dionysus. Over there where we came from is the big house, and beside it is the medical hut. Over there is the training ground where we train, and there's the dock where we have canoe races, and finally the dining pavilion where we have our meals. Got all that?" Clarice said as she pointed out the places one by one for Naruto. "Yeah, got it. So which is your cabin?" Naruto asked curiously. "Cabin 5, Clarice answered. "Ah, so you're Lord Ares' child, huh? Not bad, I hope we can have a spar sometime," Naruto said thoughtfully. "Hey, thanks, but flattery won't get you anywhere. After all, I still have to initiate you," Clarice said with a sadistic grin on her face. Just as she said that, she moved to put Naruto into a headlock only to grab air. Falling forward, she stumbled to the ground. "How?" Clarice asked, shocked at Naruto's skill. "You'll see eventually," Naruto said as he helped Clarice up. "So where will I stay for now?" Naruto asked Clarice after she had gotten over her shock. "Over there in cabin 11 until you are claimed," Clarice answered. "Thanks, though I am looking forward to a spar," Naruto said as he walked away. "You better be serious or I'll pound you into dust," Clarice threatened lightly. "I'll keep that in mind, war girl," Naruto said as he left to go to cabin 11. It was a short walk to cabin 11, and what Naruto saw was disheartening. He knew that some gods did not claim their children, but this was ridiculous. Naruto could see that the cabin was past its maximum living capacity, seeing as almost every inch had someone sleeping on it. Hey, are you new here? Naruto saw a tall blonde around his age approach him, remembering his name to be Luke from the time he and his friend Talia had visited his surrogate mother's camp. Been a while, huh, Luke? Naruto said in greeting. Whoa, have we met? Luke asked Naruto. Yes, you and your friend Talia visited my mother's camp a few years back, Naruto answered. A.N. Naruto sees Artemis and two other as his mothers, as well as with Hecate, so he sees 4 women as his mothers. Wait a minute, you're that scrawny kid who was with the hunt, right? Luke finally recalled. Yes, my name is Naruto and I'm not scrawny, Naruto answered with a slight glare. Oh, I see, then why are you here? Shouldn't you be in cabin 8? Luke asked. You see, until they claim me I have to stay here for now, as not to disrespect my mothers, as they will also decide where I will stay. Naruto answered truthfully with an exasperated look on his face. Mothers as in more than one? Luke asked, shocked at the knowledge of Naruto having more than one mother. Yes, I will not explain for now, you will see with the rest when I am claimed, Naruto said, not wanting to explain more. Ah, that's alright, well, pick a spot for now, Luke said as he welcomed Naruto in. Peering inside, Naruto decided not to lie down on the floor, so he jumped up, grabbing one of the support beams and climbed on top of it, laying down on it. Found it, Naruto said sarcastically as everyone looked at him in wonder. Show off, Luke muttered with a smile. Just as he said that, a loud conk sound could be heard and everyone stood up and went outside the cabin. Cabin 11, fall in, Luke ordered as the cabin members fell into an orderly line with Naruto making up the rear. Naruto followed them all to the dining pavilion, which he remembered from Clarice's tour. Entering, he followed the group to a table which was far too small to support their group, so some, included Naruto, opted to seat on the ground. Alright there, buddy? Luke asked Naruto, to which he received a nod. After a few minutes, a few wood nymphs went around and served each of them a blank plate or bowl, which then filled with what they wanted to eat. Naruto was shocked by this, since he was used to hunting for his own food. He was also then handed an empty cup, to which Luke told him to name a drink and then the cup will provide it, so Naruto had a cup of Earl Grey which he picked up from one of his mothers. Alright brats, listen up, I'll only say this once, we have 2 new campers, one is still unconscious and the other is here with us, Naruto Uzumaki. He single-handedly defeated the minotaurs that approached us last night, Dionysus said in a bored tone, though if one were listening attentively one could tell he was waiting for something to happen. While the rest of the campers looked at him with respect and awe, while the children of Ares looked a bit jealous, though they still had looks of respect on their faces. Just as everyone looked at Naruto, a bright light flashed above his head, and when it cleared he could hear all the demigods gasp. Just as Naruto suspected, they would claim him as soon as he entered the camp anyway. Above him were 4 symbols, the biggest was a dark crescent moon with a torch in the middle, and the other smaller 3 was a crescent moon with a bow and arrow, a hearth, and finally an olive tree with an owl and serpent. Hail Naruto Uzumaki, son of Hecate, also claimed by Artemis, Athena, and Hestia, Chiron said as he got out of his shock, and was chorused by the rest of the demigods as they bowed to Naruto. Is it that shocking? Naruto asked, confused. Yes, it is, Brad, no one would expect those 3 to claim you as well if you weren't their child, Dionysus answered with a voice that implied, you don't say. Ah, I see, Naruto said with a sweat drop. How is this possible? He can't be related to them, Naruto heard a camper say. Hold it, Sai, you see, when I was younger I was orphaned, so when my birth mother brought me out of where I formerly lived, she brought me to Lady Artemis to be raised, and so I was, and when I left, Lady Artemis decided to give me some of her blood so I could be a part of the hunt if I see them on my travels. As for Lady Athena and Lady Hestia, they saw how my past was and they took pity on me, so they spoke with my mother and she agreed, so they also gave me their blood, making me around 2/3 divine, and because of that happening they also told me to address them as mother as well, Naruto said, explaining to the demigods, who nodded in understanding. Wait, what was your past like to make them adopt you like that? A demigod asked. Here, I'll show you. Probolates names, memory viewing, Naruto said as he created a portal which showed flashes of his life before Hecate came to rescue him. The whole camp watched when Naruto was a child. They saw as he was tossed out of the orphanage how he was beaten on most days by a mob of villagers and the fact he dove into trash cans for his meals. Naruto cut it off before they reached the part where his mother rescued him from the village. Looking at the assembled demigods, he could see that they had tears in their eyes and some were outright crying like the girls from the Aphrodite table. Needless to say, everyone pitied Naruto and they could not find any reason to hate him. Well, sad story aside, let us eat before the food grows cold to the gods, Chiron said as he lightened the mood from its gloom and sadness to one of feasting. To the gods, the demigods and Naruto shouted back as they wiped the tears from their eyes as they opened their meal. All of them standing to move towards a cauldron where they seemed to give a portion of their meals to their patron god or goddess, with Naruto following everyone's lead. After the meal had finished eating, Dionysus had one more shocking news for them. Oh yes, before I forget, the council has decided to test its current champion against the camp, so this capture the flag game will be the camp versus Naruto by himself, Dionysus said half-heartedly as he left the dining pavilion, leaving everyone in shock. He can't be that good, can he? Punk thinks he can take on the whole camp, huh? Damn, I need to think of a new strategy. These were the majority of what everyone was thinking as Dionysus left them. So Naruto, what are you planning to do now with your living arrangements? Chiron asked as he approached Naruto, who had moved to the empty table of Artemis. I plan to sleep in Artemis's cabin for tonight, though I may interchange between hers and Athena's, Naruto said as he finished his meal. I see, and what of your activities since you are the new counselor of Cabin 8? Chiron asked seriously. I don't plan on joining any class to hide my skills for now, though I will use the training grounds to keep in practice until the capture the flag game, Naruto answered earnestly. Well, if that's all, Chiron, I'm off for now, Naruto said as he excused himself, heading out of the dining pavilion, ignoring the longing gazes the Aphrodite cabin was giving him. As Naruto exited the dining pavilion, he immediately turned towards the woods, where he found a secluded area to train and practice his magic until night fell, where he only appeared to take his meal and left once again to train. It was near midnight when Naruto finished his training. He then approached Cabin 8, to which he noticed a few people still awake, staring out their windows, or in Grover's case hiding poorly behind a bush. I can see you guys, Naruto said loud enough to be heard, when suddenly a few harpies heard the noise and started to flock towards him to devour him as per camp rules. Seeing this, Naruto decided to show off as little as possible and just charged up his fists with holder magic. The same magic as Bazit Fraga Macremets. This magic allowed him to strengthen his fists and feet, allowing him to reach strengths comparable to Hercules. As the harpies neared, Naruto punched the closest one in the head, causing the harpy's head to come clean off its shoulders. The rest of the harpies, seeing this, decided to converge on Naruto all at once, only for Naruto to jump high in the air and start kicking the harpies, which caused them to explode when he hit them. Seeing no harpies left, Naruto deactivated his holder magic and proceeded to enter Cabin 8, ignoring the awestruck looks of the campers who were wide awake and Grover, who was shivering in fright at Naruto's skill. Finally reaching the door of his mother's cabin, Naruto entered and found the inside to be like his mother's camp, with designs of the forest on the walls as well as small paintings that look like the hunters themselves. Naruto ventured in further, finding it to be like a camp style, with the beds orderly aligned and had trunks at the foot of each bed, most likely for the hunters' things. Seeing that all the beds were obviously occupied, Naruto went in further, only to stop when a bright light appeared at the end of the room, to which, when it faded, revealed a door with a note attached to it. Grabbing the note, it read out, "Dear Naruto, I made this room for you in the off chance you ever went to Camp Half-Blood. I hope you find it to your liking. I apologize as well for the late claiming, but your birth mother wanted it to be special and seen by the whole camp, so we decided to claim you at your next meal there. Take care of yourself. P.S. Athena said it's fine if you don't sleep at her cabin as long as you connect with your siblings there. Love, Mom." Naruto had tears in his eyes at the end of the heartfelt letter. "It's okay, Mom, I didn't mind your late claiming at all. Thanks for the room," Naruto prayed out to Artemis as he entered the room. It was painted black and silver, showing signs of him being the son of two goddesses of two phases of the moon. It had a wardrobe, to which Naruto found a male version of the hunter's outfit, which was a silver hooded jacket with dark pants and army-style brown boots. There was also a trophy case which was filled with Naruto's many kills on his quests. The bed was king-sized. It had silver bed sheets which reminded Naruto of the times he slept with Artemis. "Thanks, Mom, I'll do you and my other mothers proud during the capture the flag game," Naruto thought as he finally took his rest, not noticing that the moon had shined even brighter that night. It was the next morning after Naruto had been claimed by his mothers. He had slept in a wonderful bed provided by Artemis. Stepping out of bed, he checked the clock to make sure he had woken up as usual, which was at 5:30 in the morning. Once he had confirmed that, he quickly made sure to fix his bed before going about his morning exercise, which was to meditate for a few minutes every morning to ensure that his magic would not backfire and could be used at full potential. Followed by a full workout to which allows him to remain in top shape for wielding weapons, though he really didn't need to do this. Finally, when he was done, Naruto stepped out of his mother's cabin and walked around camp towards the big house, where he found Percy speaking with Dionysus and Chiron. "Good morning, Chiron, Lord Dionysus. What has Percy done now?" Naruto asked after he had greeted both Chiron and Dionysus, who had a large scowl on his face. "The boy dared to call me by name without any respect at all, unlike you," Dionysus said while still scowling at Percy before he took a drink of his Diet Coke. "I see. Well, Percy, you see, it is very improper to call gods by their name without any honorifics like Lord or Lady, and even then you need their permission to use it like I do," Naruto explained to Percy, who rubbed the back of his head in embarrassment. "This can't be real, can it?" Percy asked Chiron, who merely sighed. "Yes, it is, Percy. All this is real. All gods and goddesses you once thought to be myth are real. Proof is right in front of you," Chiron explained to Percy in a professional tone of voice, like a teacher would tell a student. "A god, him really?" Percy pointed at Dionysus while looking incredulous. "Are you testing me, boy?" Dionysus threatened, with his godly energy leaking out from his body in a slightly silver mist-like way. "No," Percy said almost instantly when he felt a huge weight bearing down upon him. "Well, I'll show you around for now," Chiron said as he spotted Annabeth walk near the big house. As he said this, both Percy and Naruto followed after Chiron. He began to show Percy the different parts of the camp. Sure enough, they had passed by the front door, from which the second floor of the big house could be seen. "What's up there?" Percy asked Chiron. "Oh, nothing living. Come along, more to see," Chiron said hurriedly, making Naruto suspicious. "Nothing living, huh?" Naruto thought to himself. As they moved along, Percy had finally asked what was bugging for a while now since leaving the big house. "Grover won't get in too much trouble, will he?" Percy asked, concerned for his friend. Chiron sighed. "Grover has big dreams, Percy, perhaps bigger than are reasonable to reach his goal. He must first demonstrate great courage by succeeding as a keeper, finding a new camper and bringing him safely to Half-Blood Hill." "But he did that," Percy insisted. "I might agree with you, but it is not my place to judge. Dionysus and the Council of Cloven Elders must decide. I'm afraid they might not see this assignment as a success. After all, Grover lost you in New York. Then there's the unfortunate fate of your mother. And the fact that Grover was unconscious when Naruto dragged you both over the property line. The council might question whether this shows any courage on Grover's part." Chiron said sadly. "He'll get a second chance, won't he?" Percy asked, hopeful. "I'm afraid that was Grover's second chance, Percy. The council was not anxious to give him another, either, after what happened the first time, 5 years ago. Olympus knows, I advised him to wait longer before trying again. He's still so small for his age," Chiron answered sadly, with Naruto perking at that information. "So it was Grover who led Luke and his friends to camp," Naruto thought to himself. "How old is he?" Percy asked, interested. 28, Chiron said off-handedly. "What, and he's in 6th grade? Percy exclaimed he would go nuts if he had to do that. "Satyrs mature half as fast as humans, Percy. Grover has been the equivalent of a middle school student for the past 6 years. Chiron explained. "That's horrible," Percy said. "Quite at any rate, Grover is a late bloomer, even by satyr standards, and not yet very accomplished at woodland magic. Alas, he was anxious to pursue his dream. Perhaps now he will find some other career," Chiron said. "That's not fair. What happened the first time? Was it really so bad?" Percy asked. "Let's move along, shall we?" Chiron said, not wanting to reminisce on that topic. "Chiron, if the gods and Olympus and all that are real," Percy started. "Yes, child? Does that mean the underworld is real, too?" Percy asked with interest. Chiron's expression darkened. "Yes, child, there is a place where spirits go after death, but for now, until we know more. I would urge you to put that out of your mind," Chiron warned. "What do you mean, until we know more?" Percy asked, irritated by all the secrecy. "Come, Percy, let's see the woods," Chiron said, changing the subject. "The woods are stocked, if you care to try your luck, but go armed." Chiron explained. "Stocked with what? Armed with what?" Percy asked, confused. "You'll see. Capture the flag is Friday night. It's bound to be interesting this time around. Do you have your own sword and shield?" Chiron asked. "My own what?" Percy said, confused. Who the hell owns a sword these days? Don't need to carry any, Naruto simply answered. No, I don't suppose you do. I think a size 5 will do. I'll visit the armory later, Chiron said. So Chiron proceeded to show Percy the rest of the camp while Naruto tagged along. Finally Chiron showed Percy the cabins. There were 12 of them, nestled in the woods by the lake. They were arranged in a U, with 2 at the base and 5 in a row on either side. Except for the fact that each had a large brass number above the door, they looked absolutely nothing alike. Number 9 had smokestacks, like a tiny factory. Number 4 had tomato vines on the walls and a roof made out of real grass. 7 seemed to be made of solid gold, which gleamed so much in the sunlight it was almost impossible to look at. In the center of the field was a huge stone-lined fire pit. Even though it was a warm afternoon, the hearth smoldered. A girl about 9 years old was tending the flames, poking the coals with a stick. Seeing this, Naruto approached the girl quietly. "Hi Mom," Naruto said with a bow to the girl. Hearing this, the girl turned around and brought Naruto into a hug. "Naruto, I'm glad you made it here safe," the girl said. This was the 8-year-old form of Hestia, one of the adoptive mothers of Naruto. "Well, I'm here, thanks for claiming me," Naruto said. "Nonsense, we would have done it regardless," Hestia said calmingly. "Well, that's all my time for now, see you soon my son," Hestia said before she turned to fire and faded into the hearth. "Bye Mom, see you later," Naruto said as he walked back to Chiron and Percy. "You said your name was Chiron. Are you really?" Naruto heard Percy ask Chiron when he approached. "The Chiron from the stories? Trainer of Hercules and all that?" "Yes, Percy, I am," Chiron answered proudly. "But, shouldn't you be dead?" Percy asked. "I honestly don't know about should be. The truth is, I can't be dead. You see, eons ago the gods granted my wish. I could continue the work I loved. I could be a teacher of heroes as long as humanity needed me. I gained much from that wish, and I gave up much. But I'm still here, so I can only assume I'm still needed," Chiron said. "Doesn't it ever get boring?" Percy asked. No, horribly depressing, at times, but never boring," Chiron said. "Why depressing?" Percy asked without any tact at all. "Oh, look, Annabeth is waiting for us," Chiron said, changing subject again. "Annabeth, would you mind taking Percy from here? I have a master's class that needs teaching," Chiron asked as they approached her. She was reading in front of cabin 11. "Sure Chiron," Annabeth answered coolly while she observed Percy. Naruto could tell that Percy was developing a bit of a crush on Annabeth by the way he watched her stare at him before she broke him out of it. "You drool in you sleep," Annabeth said in a deadpan tone which caused Percy to deflate and Naruto to burst out in laughter. "You're my brother, right? I'm Annabeth. Where did you sleep last night? We were hoping to talk to you after what you showed us last night," Annabeth said as she turned to look at Naruto. "Yes, I'm your new brother, though as to where I slept at cabin 8, and as for that talk we can have it after you show Percy around if that's fine with you," Naruto said as he started to walk with Annabeth, with Percy following the 2 blondes as they went towards the 11th cabin. "I stood in the doorway, looking at the kids. They weren't bowing anymore. They were staring at me, sizing me up. I knew this routine. I'd gone through it at enough schools." "Well, go on," Annabeth rushed Percy on. So naturally Percy tripped coming in the door and made a total fool of himself. There were some snickers from the campers, but none of them said anything. "Percy Jackson, meet cabin 11," Annabeth said dully. "Regular or undetermined?" somebody asked. "Undetermined," Annabeth answered for Percy. Everybody in the cabin groaned in annoyance. A guy who was a little older than the rest came forward. Now, campers. That's what we're here for. Welcome, Percy. You can have that spot on the floor, right over there," Luke said as he pointed towards an empty spot. "This is Luke, he's your counselor for now," Annabeth said with a slight blush on her cheeks which Naruto noticed. "For now?" Percy asked confused. "You're undetermined, they don't know what cabin to put you in, so you're here. Cabin 11 takes all newcomers, all visitors. Naturally, we would. Hermes, our patron, is the god of travelers," Luke explained. "Though honestly it should be my mother's cabin that does this if they gave her a cabin, seeing as she is the goddess of crossroads," Naruto put his 2 cents in. "How long will I be here?" Percy asked worriedly when he saw the other cabin members stare at him as if figuring out what to steal from him first. "Good question, until you're determined," Luke said sadly. "How long will that take?" Percy asked, to which the members of Cabin 11 laughed. Come on, I'll show you the volleyball court. Annabeth said, blankly ignoring Percy's question. I've already seen it. Percy insisted. Come on, Annabeth said as she grabbed Percy's wrist and dragged him outside. Percy could hear the kids of Cabin 11 and Naruto laughing behind me. Jackson, you have to do better than that, Annabeth said as she rounded on Percy when they were out of earshot from Cabin 11. What? Percy asked, confused. I can't believe I thought you were the one. Annabeth sounded disappointed. What's your problem? All I know is, I kill some bull guy, Percy said, sounding a bit angry. Don't talk like that. You know how many kids at this camp wish they'd had your chance? Annabeth said back with anger laced in her voice. To get killed? Percy asked, offended. To fight the Minotaur. What do you think we trained for? Annabeth answered angrily. Look, if the thing I fought really was the Minotaur, the same one in the stories. Percy started. Yes. Then there's only one. Percy finished. Yes. And he died, like, a long time ago, right? Theseus killed him in the labyrinth. So, Percy said. Monsters don't die, Percy, they reform over time, and if you're lucky you only face them once per lifetime, Annabeth explained. You mean if I killed one, accidentally, with a sword, Percy said. The fur. I mean, your math teacher. That's right. She's still out there. You just made her very, very mad. Annabeth answered Percy's unfinished question. How did you know about Mrs. Dodds? Percy asked. You talk in your sleep. Causing Naruto to sweat drop. You almost called her something. A fury? They're Hades' torturers, right? Percy asked. You shouldn't call them by name, even here. We call them the kindly ones, if we have to speak of them at all. Annabeth said, looking fearful. Not true at all. Fear is what gives them power in the first place. Only the weak really fear them. Those like us should not fear them but call them out, for we alone have the power to defeat them, Naruto explained, making Annabeth nod a bit in understanding though confusing Percy. Why'd I have to stay in Cabin 11, anyway? Why is everybody so crowded together? There are plenty of empty bunks right over there, Percy asked as he noticed empty cabins. You don't just choose a cabin, Percy. It depends on who your parents are or your parent. Annabeth said, looking fearful again. My mom is Sally Jackson. She works at the candy store in Grand Central Station. At least, she used to. Percy said, causing Naruto to facepalm. I'm sorry about your mom, Percy. But that's not what I mean. I'm talking about your other parent. Your dad. Annabeth elaborated further. He's dead. I never knew him, Percy answered quickly. Your father's not dead, Percy. Annabeth said with a sigh. How can you say that? You know him? Percy asked, intrigued. No, of course not. Annabeth answered quickly. Then how can you say that? Percy asked. Because I know you wouldn't be here if you weren't one of us. Annabeth said. You don't know anything about me. Percy said defensively. No? I bet you moved around from school to school. I bet you were kicked out of a lot of them. Annabeth said, causing Percy to reel back in shock. Diagnosed with dyslexia. Probably ADHD, too. Annabeth finished. What does that have to do with anything? Percy asked, embarrassed. That's because those are signs of being a demigod, a child of the gods and humans. The monsters see us for what we are. Only here we are safe, Annabeth explained. You sound like you went through the same thing? Percy said softly. Most of the kids here did. If you weren't like us, you couldn't have survived the Minotaur, much less the ambrosia and nectar. Annabeth said. Percy looked confused at that, so Naruto pitched in. If you were human, drinking ambrosia and nectar would kill you, Naruto said simply. Well, if it isn't the mage and the newbie, Naruto heard Clarice say from behind them. Clarice, why don't you go polish your spear or something? Annabeth said, obviously annoyed. Sure, Princess, I can run you through with it Friday night. Oh wait, I can't cause we're teamed up, Clarice retorted. Eres Korakas, Annabeth said, which Percy somehow understood was Greek for, go to the crows. Who's this little scamp? Clarice asked, pointing at Percy. Percy Jackson, meet Clarice, daughter of Ares, Annabeth said. Like, the war god? Percy asked. You got a problem with that? Clarice looked offended. No, it explains the bad smell, Percy said, causing Naruto to twitch his eye in annoyance for his obvious lack of respect for others. We got an initiation ceremony for newbies, Prissy, Clarice said, grabbing Percy's shirt. Percy insisted. Whatever. Come on, I'll show you, Clarice said as she dragged him towards the toilets. Stay out of it, wise girl, Clarice said when she saw Annabeth about to speak. Naruto, you have to help him, Annabeth insisted. Noki needs to learn how to respect people, Naruto said simply. Just as suddenly a huge explosion could be heard from the toilets. Somehow all the pipes ruptured and soaked Clarice and Annabeth, but somehow sparing Percy and Naruto. Here, let me, Naruto said when he noticed Clarice and Annabeth were wet. Snapping his fingers, their clothes suddenly dried and was clean as could be, as if they had just gotten dressed. How? Annabeth asked. Son of Hestia as well, remember, Naruto said, making Clarice and Annabeth nod in understanding. And that was the end of Percy's tour, to which he continually pestered Annabeth for an apology, to which she simply ignored him and told him to drop it. Of course Percy went and asked her about her own parents, which caused her to be more irritated at him ending the tour. Naruto followed Annabeth to her cabin, where he was introduced to his new siblings. To which they asked him many questions, which he patiently answered, most avoiding some to hide his skills for the upcoming game. Then dinner came along, allowing Chiron to announce the camp's first all-versus-one capture the flag, causing Percy to ask, "Is he that good?" causing Naruto to glare at him, making Percy spill his drink over himself. It was the morning of Friday, the start of preparations for the capture the flag game. You can see the campers rushing around the camp. The Athena cabin was making all sorts of plans concerning surrounding Naruto. Frankly, it seemed like they were planning a blitzkrieg strike. The Ares cabin were practicing with their swords, spears, and axes, though you could tell they were exited for this, as they were the front liners along with the Hermes cabin. The Hermes cabin was well planting traps for their side of the creek to defend their flag. The Apollo cabin was cleaning their bows and sharpening their arrows. The Hephaestus cabin seemed to be making a few war instruments such as trebuchets and catapults, along with their ammo of Greek fire and heavy boulders. The other cabins were not participating and only stayed to the sides watching the whole thing unfold, some helping with preparations. Percy on the other hand looked confused and was being shoved around by the Ares and Hephaestus cabin members, who were moving around carrying and distributing weapons to other cabins. Seeing this, Grover took pity on Percy and brought him towards their pier, where no one would bother them, or so they think. Seated there in the middle of the lake was Naruto. He was sitting on top of the water in a meditative pose, though no one seemed to notice due to them being busy. Standing up from his meditation, Naruto came face to face with Grover and Percy. How did you do that? Is it your demigod power or something? Percy asked. Naruto stared at him blankly. You don't know the meaning of tact, do you? Naruto said plainly. Sorry, Percy said, embarrassed. Well, to answer your question, yes and no. I merely used my power to allow me to place runes on myself to be protected from water no matter how deep. Naruto answered. Servant skill, water protection. Oh, that's cool, Percy admitted. So were you raised in the hunt? Grover asked meekly. Yes, it was fun, but I had to leave because I was male, Naruto said sadly, remembering the fun times he had with his sisters. Sorry, Grover said. Don't worry about it, I'm fine, Naruto said, walking off towards cabin 8. Hey, how are you planning to survive? Everyone is planning ways to kill you. Percy asked before Naruto got out of hearing range. Never question the king boy, Naruto said in a slightly arrogant tone, not even looking behind him. Leaving both Percy and Grover confused. When he reached his mother's cabin, Naruto immediately knelt down, offering a prayer for strength from his mother's, for Athena to guide him, Artemis for his aim, Hestia for protection from flame, and Hecate to strengthen his magic. Up in Olympus same time. All the gods were interested in this particular game, with all of them watching events in the camp. All the males were gathered in Hermes' temple, where he materialized sofas for them to sit on. Even Hades was there watching with them. And all the gods had a bottle of Coke and a bucket of popcorn with them. All of them were also placing bets on which camper would be able to take down Naruto, as they all thought that they had a chance since they outnumbered Naruto nearly 200 to 1, with only Hades betting on Naruto. The goddesses on the other hand were in Hera's temple watching the events of the camp. Even Hera was unusually interested in this game as compared to her usual nonchalant attitude. Hecate herself was invited to watch with them, as they had Iris form them a window to watch from. Camp Half-Blood. It was nearly time to start the game, and everyone was waiting anxiously in the dining pavilion, waiting for instructions from Chiron. Alright, I see you're all ready. I believe it's time to start the game. As per instructions from the gods, this will be all out. The only rules are no killing. Naruto, wear your armor, Chiron said as he noticed Naruto's lack of armor. Should I wear it now? Naruto asked, looking at Kairon from his spot as he leaned against a support beam. Yes, please do, Kairon said, expecting him to head towards his cabin only to receive a shock. Naruto just simply snapped his fingers as golden dust began to form around him, signifying he was manipulating the mist. Starting from the feet going up, it formed on him a golden armor with a red cloth at the back of it. Naruto even formed rectangular earrings on his ears. N. Gilgamesh's armor from Fate, 0. Is this more satisfactory? Naruto asked as he slicked his hair back, getting ready for the game. At this point everyone was shocked at Naruto's appearance, though some, namely the Aphrodite cabin, was looking at him in lust, some even licking their lips sensually. Yes, fine, let us start. Naruto, please head to the far side of the woods just past the creek. That's your side and you must start from there. Do you have a flag with you? Kairon said, getting out of his shock. Naruto only nodded at this, and from the mist materialized a flag with a wooden pole. The flag was red in color with silver highlights. In the center was a torch, beside it was a moon and an owl, below these was a hearth. I'll be heading up now, Naruto said as he left the room. I think we're doomed, voice a camper. Hey, don't worry, we got more than enough firepower here with us, a Hephaestus cabin member said as he pointed at the stuff they just made. Now it's time you prepare your base as well, Kairon said as he shooed them out of the dining pavilion. As planned by the Athena cabin, the Ares and Hermes cabin members would lead the front lines, while the Hephaestus cabin members would follow with the heavy artillery, as well as the Apollo cabin members who would be their long-range support, leaving the flag to be guarded by the Athena cabin. Olympus. At Hermes' temple. Oh, look, it's starting, Hermes said excitedly, making everyone focus on the iris message screen that showed the camp. At Hera's temple. Let's see how well this boy of yours does, Hecate, Hera said as they anticipated the start of the game. Camp Half-Blood. As soon as the conch horn sounded, the Ares and Hermes cabin members rushed forward past the creek towards the area where Naruto would be. Only to be shocked as Naruto was indeed there, only he was many feet of the ground in some sort of flying device. It was golden in color with its wings being green. N. The mana from Fate, 0. Seated on it was a throne-like chair, and on it was Naruto looking bored, his head leaning on his left fist. The flag was in front of him at his feet. Seeing the Ares and Hermes cabin, he raised his right hand into the air just above Naruto. Golden dust clamped together in circular formations with blades in the center, all aimed at the members of the Ares and Hermes cabin. Run, spread out, Luke shouted as he dashed around looking for a way to get behind Naruto and grab the flag while he was distracted from fighting the Ares and Hermes cabin members. Maya, Luke said as his shoes sprouted wings, allowing him to fly. Luke slowly went behind the ship of Naruto. On the other hand, the members of Ares and Hermes were not doing well already. More than half of them were incapacitated and out of the game. Only around a handful of survivors littered the battlefield. Naruto, seeing that most of them had lost, began to forward the Vimana at a sedate pace, giving them a chance to win if they had it in them. Sensing movement from behind him, Naruto saw Luke flying at his level coming from behind. Think you can steal from me? I think not, Naruto said as he redirected the weapons forged from mist at Luke, who dodged most of them as he was faster in the air. Oh, try this, thief, Naruto said as he gathered golden mist at his hand, creating a chain which he launched at Luke, knocking him from the air as it was faster than the weapons. With Luke now out, Naruto proceeded to fly forward only to halt when a rock nearly hit the Vimana. Naruto sounded out, intrigued at what almost hit him, looking to see the Hephaestus cabin loading more rocks into the trebuchets and catapults and the Apollo cabin aiming bows at him. Foolishness, Naruto said as he formed the golden dust around the trebuchets and catapults. And from the golden dust came chains which constricted around the catapults and trebuchets, destroying them. That's not all, eat this, Charlie Beckendorf shouted. He was the leader of the Hephaestus cabin. As he said this, the Hephaestus cabin grabbed a hold of some large cylindrical-looking balls and threw them at Naruto, only for him to move the mana out of the way, though one ball did land on it, setting it on fire. Greek fire, interesting, Naruto said as he grabbed the flag with his left hand before jumping of Vimana and dispelling the Vimana over the Apollo cabin, causing the Greek fire to fall near them, causing them to fall into disarray. Finally got you on the ground, Charlie said as he charged forward towards Naruto with a battle cry, while Naruto was launching his mist-created blades at the other members and at Charlie himself. Surprisingly, Charlie took a sword to his shoulder and a spear to his leg and still kept charging at Naruto, impressing him greatly. Finally reaching Naruto, Charlie raised his sword above his head to strike Naruto down only to find his arm couldn't move. Looking behind him he saw that the golden mists were now forming chains holding him back from moving, and behind him were the members of the Hephaestus and Apollo cabins all knocked out. Hey, keeping on performing strange things one after another, Charlie said as he coughed up some blood. Very impressive, son of Hephaestus, Naruto said as he punched Charlie in the gut, knocking him out. Dispelling the golden mist, he pressed on forward now that he was on their side of the creek, and because of the rules he had to create a barrier around his flag, which he protected it with a barrier letting it fly above his side of the creek. Moving forward towards the side of his opponents, he saw that the flag was guarded by the Athena cabin as well as Percy, who charged at him blindly only for Naruto to backhand him into the creek. "You're out of your league, boy," Naruto said as he walked forward, materializing a sword in his hand. Seeing this, the Athena cabin charged forward, and while they were many they had no skill in using swords, so Naruto easily beat them all, and as soon as he grabbed the flag he felt something grab the flag before him and ran off into the forest with it. Seeing no point in running after the flag, he simply manipulated the golden mist once more and launched the chains, capturing the flag and whoever held it. To Naruto's surprise, it was Annabeth. Her hat had fallen off her head when the chains surrounded her, causing her to return to normal visibility. Grabbing the flag, Naruto simply kept the chains on her as he was near the creek, so he wouldn't spend too much energy on this. Only to find Percy in front of him with his sword poised to strike Naruto, who simply blocked it with his own sword. His strength and speed increased. How? Naruto thought as he simply kept defending against Percy's onslaught. Ignoring the need to see Percy's full potential, Naruto formed blades floating in midair to help him guard against Percy. Eventually Naruto managed to disarm Percy and knock him backward just as Naruto crossed over to his side of the creek, making the flag transform into a copy of his own. A conch horn echoed as Chiron came into sight. "Victory is Naruto's," Chiron announced as the members of the Hephaestus, Apollo, Ares, Hermes, and Athena came toward them limping, some still unconscious being carried by the others. Just as they were about to say something, a large hellhound came from behind the bush, causing Chiron to fumble about for his bow to shoot it dead, only for Naruto to stab it just as it rushed forward to maim Percy. As it exploded into golden dust, Annabeth, who was now free of the chains, saw Percy's wound. "Percy, what is that?" Annabeth asked. "Sword wound," Percy answered. "Step in the water," Annabeth said as Percy complied, and as he did, a large circle flashed above his head. It was a trident. "Hail Percy Jackson, son of Poseidon," Chiron shouted as he kneeled every camper including Naruto to copy his actions. "Huh?" was all Percy could think. "Olympus, Hermes' temple. Ha, I win, pay up," Hades said as he smiled, causing all the other gods to groan at losing the bet. "Whoa, what the?" Apollo said as he saw a hellhound appear on screen only for it to be killed by Naruto and a circle to appear over Percy's head. "Poseidon, explain this now," Zeus demanded as he shook with anger. The thunder heard in the distance, showing his anger to the human world. "Hera's temple. See, I told you he could do it," Hecate said as she smiled at her son's achievement. "He's our son too, you know," Athena said, for both Artemis and Hestia as well. "Oh, my brother is not going to be happy about this," Hestia said as she saw Percy being claimed by Poseidon. All the goddesses shook their heads. This will only serve to increase Zeus's temper tantrums for a whole while. A few mere minutes after the capture the flag game, which turned into a one-sided slaughter, Percy had been claimed, and by someone who was not supposed to have a demigod child. Percy was a son of Poseidon. So here Percy was sitting by himself as he waited near the hearth at the center of the camp, right beside Naruto, who was conversing with a young girl who Percy had not seen before. So Percy decided to listen into the conversation, as it was a better alternative than watch others stare at him. "So Naruto, did you have fun?" Percy heard the girl ask with mirth in her voice. "Humph, as if they offered much. Slightly entertaining, I admit. However, the other camp gave me a better challenge," Naruto answered gruffly, though he had a smile on his face. "Hee, well, me and your other mothers just wanted to congratulate you and warn you not to let it go to your head," the girl said with a smile as she placed a hand on Naruto's cheek. "Mothers? How the heck does a guy have more than one mother?" Percy thought to himself. "Of course I know, if I did, both you and Lady Artemis would beat it out of me," Naruto said with a slight chuckle. "And don't you forget it. Oh, and before I forget, my brother wants you to keep an eye on Percy for him," the girl said seriously. "Sure," Naruto said, to which the girl nodded. Well, that's all for now. See you later, my dear boy, the girl said as she walked towards the fire and vanished into it. See you too, Mom, Naruto said as he stood up and turned to glare at Percy. You know it is quite rude to listen in on private conversations, right? Naruto said with a glare at Percy. Sorry, I couldn't help myself, Percy said, shivering at Naruto's glare. Sigh, fine, but if I see you do it again I will make you wish you were dead. Are we clear? Naruto threatened. Why yes, Percy sputtered out. Good now, good night, Naruto said as he turned to leave. Wait, who was that? Percy asked, curious. My mother Hestia, Naruto said as he continued walking towards his cabin, not looking back at Percy. Percy, it's time to move to your new cabin, Chiron said, bringing Percy out of his thoughts. Oh okay, which is it? Percy asked as he followed Chiron. Cabin 3, Chiron said as he pointed it out to Percy. Good night, Percy, Chiron said as he left Percy to enter on his own. Home sweet home, Percy said as he went inside and fell asleep. The next day. This morning when Naruto woke up he knew things would go wrong very quickly and felt as if Percy would be in the center of it. So going about his morning routine as usual, he found that his magic reserves had somehow increased overnight, making his meditation longer than usual. Finally, when he had finished, he left his cabin finding a few campers awake, and he spotted Grover dragging Percy out of his cabin towards the big house. Quickly grabbing his jacket, which can make him invisible, he activated its ability and moved towards the big house. What, I haven't stolen anything, Zeus is crazy, Naruto heard Percy say defensively. Entering discreetly, he saw that Annabeth was there as well, and she was invisible, same as him. For you see, those invisible are invisible to all except magic users who cast sight clarity spells, those with enhanced sense, and other invisible people. Seeing Annabeth notice him, Naruto placed a finger to his lips signifying that they would watch the proceedings quietly. It was amusing the two children of Athena could be very stealthy just to acquire knowledge. Looking back at the occupants of the big house, namely Chiron, Grover and Dionysus, Naruto could see that they were looking a bit fearful at Percy, though Dionysus was looking at him in annoyance rather than fear. Percy buddy? We don't use the C word to describe the king of Olympus, Grover said to Percy. Anyway, it has come to the belief of Lord Zeus that you have stolen his master bolt and have delivered it to you, Father Lord Poseidon, to be mass-produced to overthrow him. Chiron explained, seeing as it was no use to tell Percy how to address the gods at the moment. Naruto almost snorted at this. It was known to him that Zeus was very paranoid and trusted very few people. What, but I haven't done any of that, Percy insisted. I know, but in order to prove your innocence, what better than to have you deliver the master bolt back to Zeus, Chiron said. How will I do that? Percy questioned. Consult the oracle, she is upstairs, Chiron said as he let Percy move towards the attic. And so Naruto moved towards Annabeth, silently telling her to stay put as he followed Percy up the stairs. Moving behind Percy, he watched as a corpse came to life and green smoke exited the corpse's mouth and formed into an illusion. Naruto could see that it formed into Gabe and his three buddies. You shall go west, and face the god who has turned. You shall find what was stolen, and see it safely returned. You shall be betrayed by one who calls you a friend, and you shall fail to save what matters most, in the end. The son of many will join thee and aid thee, and will come to face his sister's thief. And with that the mist receded back, leaving a dazed Percy who went down the stairs with Naruto following. Naruto knew full well what the prophecy meant for him. He would face that man who stole his most precious sister's gift. Clencing his fist, he went beside Annabeth, who noticed this and placed a calming hand on his shoulder. Naruto gave her a grateful nod at this. Percy, who had just finished explaining what the oracle had told him but left out the last 4 lines of the prophecy. Chiron had told I am to find companions for his journey. Hearing this, Annabeth and Naruto went visible once more, shocking Percy. I shall go. I don't trust a son of Poseidon to accomplish this properly, Annabeth said seriously, though Naruto could tell that she was yearning to leave the camp for an adventure. And I shall accompany my sister on this quest, though I was also given an order from Lord Zeus to keep an eye on Percy, Naruto said, getting a nod from Dionysus, while Grover and Chiron looked slightly afraid. Relax, I won't kill him unless he proved to be the thief, Naruto says, calming Chiron and Grover somewhat. And with that the team of 4 went to prepare for the quest. Percy went to his cabin and got properly dressed. Annabeth went and got her already prepared bag for when a quest would be issued, as well as said her goodbyes to her cabin mates. Grover went towards the woodlands for something. Naruto simply went to his cabin and offered a few prayers for blessing from his mothers. When he was done, he simply left the cabin with the clothes on his back. After all, Naruto had access to a pocket dimension for storage of all his things. As he moved towards the hill where they would meet, he was ambushed by a group of wood nymphs who wanted to wish him good luck on his quest, which Naruto humbly accepted. If he had bothered to look around, he could see looks of jealousy coming from the other campers who were awake and were watching the nymphs surround Naruto. It was simple and plain jealousy, and who could fault them by their very own nature? Nymphs were well-endowed women who were often the subject of lust and affection from gods and men alike. Though this was not the case for Naruto, who was raised in the hunt and would occasionally be taken care of by nymphs when all of the hunt had to take care of a few monsters, and due to the flighty nature of the nymphs some had traveled long and far. Which was why Naruto could see a few familiar faces from the nymphs who wished him good luck. After accepting it, he then proceeded towards the top of the hill. When he reached the top of the hill, he could sense a strong magical presence from the tree beside him. Is this an enchanted tree? Or is it something more than that? Somehow I feel a living presence from it, Naruto thought as he analyzed his tree. Naruto, I didn't know you were here already? Annabeth asked from behind him, shocking him slightly at how he didn't notice her presence. Yay, is there something with this tree? I feel something from it, Naruto asked, pointing at the tree behind him. Yeah, it is the tree of Talia. When she died, Zeus turned her into a tree that now protects the camp. Annabeth said sadly. Talia? You mean the girl that traveled with you and Luke? Naruto asked. Yeah, Annabeth answered. Just then Percy, Grover and Chiron came along up the hill, joining them. So Percy, hold on to this, it's a gift from your father, just click and it will become a sword. Don't worry about losing it, it will always return to your pocket, Chiron said as he handed Percy a pen. Anaclesmo's rip-tide, Percy said in awe when he clicked the pen, which transformed into a sword when he did. Indeed, it has a long and sad history which we won't go into today, Chiron said sadly, at which Naruto clenched his fist tightly, remembering the particular history of that sword. Naruto would have at one point taken it as his own, however he discovered it was best held by those with connections to the sea like Percy, so he would leave it in his hands. Indeed, Percy, it is a good blade, wield it well and treat it properly, if you don't I might take it from you, Naruto said as he stared off into the distance. Even though his voice contained a threatening tone, his face looked wistful in thought. I will, Percy said honestly. He could hear the proud tone of how Naruto described the blade, and this coming from the guy with many weapons, it sounded like the highest form of praise for a weapon. Well, shall we? Annabeth said anxiously. She was really itching to go on this quest. Wait, they all heard Luke shout from behind them, carrying a shoebox. Oh good, you haven't left yet, I have something for you, Luke said as he opened the box and handed it to Percy. Looking inside, they all saw that it held shoes. What's this do? Percy asked, confused. Maya, Luke said, and as he did, the shoes grew wings and started to fly. These are shoes from my father, and since I don't use them too often, I thought I should leave them with you, Luke said thoughtfully. Cool, I guess I could fly with them, right? Percy said, looking at his companions for the quest, only to receive deadpan looks and a facepalm from Naruto. Percy, how to put this lightly, you're wanted dead by Zeus and you want to fly in the sky, which is his domain. Do you see where this is going? Naruto said, slightly irritated at his cluelessness. Oh sorry, Percy said, embarrassed. Well, how about you use them, Grover? Percy asked, handing the shoes to Grover. I guess I could, Grover said bashfully. Well, that's all I came here for. Take care, Naruto. Annabeth, Luke said before he walked off. Looking at Annabeth, Naruto saw a hint of pink on her cheeks. Must have a crush, I guess, Naruto thought as he shrugged. It was none of his business anyway. This is Argus and he's here to keep an eye on things, Chiron said as he introduced Percy to Argus, making Annabeth and Naruto deadpan at the awful pun. Well, let's go, shall we? Naruto said as he walked with Annabeth towards the van that was at the bottom of the hill. Percy and Grover followed with Argus after them. During the car ride towards the bus station, it was a tense atmosphere in the car and Percy couldn't stand it any longer, so he tried to boost morale. We're making good time, huh? No monster attacks yet, Percy said out loud, to which Annabeth turned to glare at him. Don't say that, you'll only jinx us, Annabeth said blankly, remembering Murphy's Law. Don't bother, any monster coming after us would have a hard time, after all only the higher tier monsters will come after us for now, so don't worry about the small fries, Naruto said, trying to calm Annabeth down. What that means, only the stronger ones will come after us, Annabeth said, heading into a panic mode. Yes, though with our team we should be fine, Naruto said, placing a calming hand on Annabeth's shoulders. Oh, that's right, thanks, Annabeth said, grateful he was here. A few minutes later, Argus stopped in front of the bus stand, letting the quest members to exit before heading off. Waiting for the bus, Annabeth asked Naruto a few questions. So what was that ship thing you used in the game? Annabeth asked, getting the interest of Percy and Grover as they wanted to know as well. It is called Vimana, an ancient craft made in ancient India. Don't ask how, I'm not sure as well. I found it on my journeys, as being the son of Hecate allowed me to travel far and wide across the globe. Naruto answered Annabeth, earning a nod from her. And those golden mist things? Annabeth asked once more. Oh, those were simply mist manipulation to the highest level. It pales in comparison to my 3 main treasures though, Naruto answered. 3 main treasures? Annabeth asked, intrigued. You'll find out, here's the bus now, Naruto said as he stood up, helping Annabeth up as well. The bus ride was uneventful for a few hours until it was late night, and the bus had picked up 3 more riders, which Percy recognized one as Ms. Dodds, or rather the Fury. What are they doing here? Percy asked in a low voice. He watched the 3 take seats right next to each other. I don't know, we have to be cautious about this, Annabeth said as she was formulating a plan in her head. Hold on to your thoughts first, Annabeth, let me try something first, Naruto said as he stood up when he saw Annabeth's thinking face. Ignoring their weak protests, Naruto sat down on the empty chair next to the 3 Furies. Greeting, Lady Alecto, Lady Tisiphone, Lady Megara. May I ask what you 3 ladies are doing here? Naruto greeted as he sat down next to them, earning shocked looks from the Fury sisters. Why do you pay respect to us? Most half-bloods don't, and they all fear us, Alecto said as she stared at Naruto. I was taught to respect women, and so I do well most anyway, Naruto answered, earning nods from the sisters. Some women were total bitches and held no respect for themselves or others. I see. Well, we are here to retrieve the helm of Lord Hades from the son of Poseidon, Alecto said with a hiss. I am sorry to say, but none of my companions or I possess the helm of Lord Hades. I swear this on the river Styx, Naruto said, and as he did, thunder could be heard in the distance. I see. Well, you best retrieve it to appease Lord Hades, Alecto said in resignation, as Naruto was not lying to her at all. They possessed not the helm of Hades. We will find it for you, and when we do I will return it myself, Naruto said, earning nods from the sisters. You best get of here then. You are meant to make journey on foot from here as decreed by the fates, Alecto said as they vanished in a flash of light. Naruto made sure to manipulate the mist to make sure no one remembered them. Moving back to the back where Annabeth and Grover had shocked faces as they saw him interact with the Furies. We need to leave now, Naruto said as he grabbed his bag and pulled the emergency stop of the bus. What, why? Annabeth asked. No time, I'll explain later, come on, Naruto said as he exited the bus, not before apologizing to the driver for the sudden stop in the middle of nowhere. And so the 4 exited the bus and headed toward the forest where they would spend the night. So let me get this straight. You talked to the kindly ones, then they told you to get off the bus after they found out you didn't have the Helm of Darkness, and now we have to look for it. Did I leave anything out? Annabeth said as she summarized what Naruto had just explained to them. Yep, that's about it, Naruto nodded. Okay, now our quest just got harder thanks to that side quest, Annabeth complained. No, not really. I have a feeling that both the Master Bolt and the Helm of Darkness were taken by the same person, Naruto said as he explained to Annabeth. I guess you could be right, Annabeth nodded as she grasped his idea. Whoa guys, hold up, I'm kinda hungry. Can we stop to look for a place to eat or something? Percy said as he tried to catch up to the talking blondes. Why, what did you want to eat? Naruto asked as they stopped by the side of the road. Why are we stopping here? Percy asked. Just tell me, Naruto said plainly. A burger or something, I guess, Percy said, and just as he did, Naruto snapped his fingers and a burger with some fires appeared along with a plate. How did you do that? Percy asked. Amazed Annabeth looked interested as well, but since Percy already asked, she didn't want to be redundant. As a son of Hestia, I am able to make home-cooked meals appear right away and at a 5-star approval rate, Naruto answered as Annabeth nodded. It made sense for a son of Hestia to be able to do this. Can I have a burger as well? Annabeth asked as Naruto made another for her and just materialized a can of Coke for himself. Grover seemed to be fine eating the cans from his pack. Well, let's get going, shall we? Naruto said after they had rested a few minutes after eating their meals. Yeah, thanks for the food, man, Percy said, thanking Naruto. Yeah, thanks, bro, Annabeth said, trying the word out. After all, he was older than her and they were related. Anything for my little sis, Naruto said, smiling at her. And so the four began to trudge down the path. Eventually they came to a small store by the side of the road, and because of their dyslexia none of them but Grover could read the sign. Though it seemed Naruto knew the place, seeing as he looked a bit nostalgic at seeing the place. Guys, it reads Auntie M's Garden Gnome Emporium, Grover said to the group. Why don't we check it out, Percy said. Not a bad idea, seaweed brain, Annabeth said chidingly. Hey, Percy said, indignant. He was not that slow at the upkeep, was he? Any further banter was cut short as Naruto entered the place followed by Grover. Seeing no point in waiting outside, Annabeth and Percy followed them in. Whoa, these look so realistic, Percy said as he admired the statues that littered the outer dome of the place. That looks like Uncle Ferdinand, Grover said as he saw a satyr statue. This place feels weird, Annabeth said as all the statues looked so lifelike they might as well be staring at you, not to mention the terrified faces of the statues themselves. Naruto made no comment as he ventured in towards a door where he found a reception desk. Excuse me, anyone here? Percy yelled out and rang the bell on the counter. Hearing no answer, they decided to wait for someone to arrive. Maybe the employees were busy or something. There is no one here anymore, Naruto said as he moved over to a box on the side, grabbing the few drachma coins that were in them. What do you mean no one is here? Who would leave all this? Percy asked while Annabeth was intrigued. She never thought Naruto would be so knowledgeable about this specific place. The owner is, shall we say, is earning her forgiveness, Naruto said cryptically. Who is the owner? Annabeth asked, no longer able to hold back her curiosity. That's a secret for now, you might meet her eventually, Naruto said, sadly remembering her alternative punishment given when he broke the curse upon her. Okay, so what now? Annabeth asked, dropping the subject. We'll go as far as we can and hope to make it to the next town to catch the train somehow, Naruto said as he let them rest first before they moved to leave again. They managed to end up in the forest just beside the town, and since they had no money they decided to camp out in the woods. Gathering kindling, Naruto set it a fire for them to warm up for the night. Thank goodness you're here. I don't know what we would be doing if you weren't here, Percy said as he sat down beside Naruto in front of the fire. Indeed, thanks a lot, brother. Can I have some soup? Annabeth asked, making Naruto smile as he made some hot soup for Annabeth. Anything for you, Percy? Naruto asked Percy. Some barbecue would be good, Percy said again. Naruto had 3 sticks appear for Percy. And you, Grover? Naruto said, turning his attention to the satyr. Enchiladas, please, Grover said, making Annabeth and Percy giggle a bit at him asking for his favorite meal. And so Naruto made an enchilada for Grover and some ramen for himself. After their meal, Annabeth, who was tired out from their walk, fell asleep promptly, leaving the 3 boys awake. I'll take first watch, Percy offered. No need, Percy, this will do for now, Naruto said as he erected a barrier which kept their scent from spreading through the area, hiding them from monsters. Whoa, that's cool, Percy said, amazed at all of Naruto's skills. Just how are you doing this at the camp? You even wielded many weapons without holding most of them. Percy asked. He just had to know. You really have no sense of tact, do you? But I can do these things simply because I'm the son of Hecate, meaning I can wield magic and the very mist which hides the supernatural world from humans. However, I am also the son of 3 other goddesses, Athena, Artemis, and Hestia, who have mixed their blood with mine, giving me some of their gifts as well. Naruto answered Percy as he made sure the barrier would last them the night. Wait, if you're the son of Hestia, couldn't you have put out the fire on the Vimana during Capture the Flag? Grover asked, noticing this. Only for Naruto to tap his nose while keeping quiet. Could he have put out the fire himself, or did he just dispel the Vimana so he could fight them on the ground? Grover couldn't figure Naruto out at all, but he did realize Naruto went easy on them during the game, way easy. Shaking his head to clear his mind, he then saw a few feet from him scattered pieces of garbage littered on the ground. You know guys, this makes me sad. It seems humans have lost all touch with nature, Grover said as he tried to clean up the mess, and when Naruto saw this, joined him as well. Not all Grover, not all, some still try to help as much as they can, Naruto said, earning a thankful nod from Grover. Though I do miss the old stars, you can't see them all anymore, Grover said when he finished cleaning, lying down on the earth. Indeed, when I was with my sisters in the hunt, I remember the stories they told me of the old constellations that can no longer be seen thanks to man's so-called development, Naruto agreed. I take it you guys are environmentalists, huh? Percy said out loud, only to receive deadpan stares from the two. Only humans don't care, well, most anyway, Grover said, looking at Naruto at the last part, who gave a thankful nod. With all this mess, how will we ever find Pan? Grover said out loud. Pan, huh? Well, from what I have heard, it will be a while. No one has found clues to his location yet. Cheer up though, not every place has been searched yet, you will find him eventually, Naruto said calmingly. Pam? The cooking spray? Percy asked out of place. Sometimes, Percy, I wonder if you paid attention to Chiron's classes at all, since those were mostly verbal teachings, not something you read. Naruto said in a deadpan voice. Sorry, Percy mumbled out, embarrassed. Don't sweat it, you'll learn eventually anyway. Pan is the god of the wild and wild things, Naruto explained, getting a look of understanding from Percy. So why are they looking for him? He is a god, isn't he? Percy asked. He disappeared. All we know is that a sailor of the coast of Ephesus said that he was dead, and since then humans have been plundering his kingdom, Grover said. I see. Well, then which should get to sleep, huh? Good night. Percy said, getting good nights from Grover and Naruto as well. Grover and Percy fell asleep right away, though Naruto stayed up a bit to listen for monsters, only to hear teeth chattering from the cold. Standing up, he saw that Annabeth herself was cold and shivering, her single blanket not enough for her. He made a blanket appear out of nowhere and gave it to her, stopping her shivering, making her curl up even more to absorb more heat. Good night, little sister, Naruto said as he stroked a single strand of Annabeth's hair behind her ear, then went to rest himself. Unbeknownst to the four, out of the hearth a girl manifested from the flames. Hestia herself had come to watch them in person. Oh Naruto, you always forget to watch over yourself. Remember, a king is still human after all, Hestia said as she made a blanket for Naruto before kissing him in the forehead and vanishing back into the flames. In Olympus, the council had gathered at Zeus's request, and they have yet to speak about anything at all. And so as Hestia returned, she had to sweat drop at the sight of her family. Zeus and Poseidon were having a shouting match over who was Ray's favorite, and so on and so forth. Hades was not there as he was not invited. Hera was simply reading a book, trying to drown out the noise Zeus and Poseidon were making. Demeter was talking Hermes' ear about adding more cereal into his diet. Apollo seemed to be writing music. Hephaestus was arguing with Ares over some weapon shipments or another. Aphrodite was reading a fashion magazine, giggling occasionally. Athena was reading as well. Artemis looked like she wanted to be somewhere else other than her, as could be noticed by her tapping fingers. Where have you been? Zeus asked Hestia when he noticed her retake her spot by the hearth. Oh, just visiting my son, who went on the quest with his sister Annabeth and a satyr named Grover, as well as Poseidon's son Percy. All the gods felt relieved that Naruto was on this quest. They had grown to like the blonde, and he was very successful on the quests they give him, so with him there it helping Percy, they felt relieved. Athena though was on a different boat, muttering about how her children might be corrupted by the sea spawn. Artemis however looked a bit antsy. Is he doing well? Artemis asked. Oh yes, he was helping out his sister quite a bit while constantly correcting Percy on his mistakes. It seems you rubbed off on him quite a bit, Artemis. Hestia said while Artemis blushed at the last part. Not my fault at all. Hecate asked me and my hunters to raise him after all, Artemis said, still blushing a bit as she was indeed the closest to Naruto amongst his adoptive mothers. HMPH, at least the quest should go smoothly now that he is there helping the sea spawn out, Athena said. What did you call my son? Poseidon said, slightly angry. Sea spawn, or did you not hear fish head? Athena said, glaring at Poseidon while he glared back at her. It was no mystery that the two hated each other. Well, now that the quest has been given, all we can do is wait. Dismissed, Zeus said, halting further argument between the two, and left in a flash of lightning, causing Poseidon to mutter, "Show off," under his breath. With that the council was dismissed. The next day, as the new day broke out, Naruto, who woke with the sun, checked to make sure his traveling companions were safe, and when he had checked over them all he could find was that they were still fast asleep. Finished checking over them, he then proceeded to go over his morning routine where he would meditate. Finding a secluded place, he managed to find one near the tree he was under. Deciding to stay there, he failed to notice that Grover had already woken up and left in search of something. By the time Naruto finished his meditation, he found that Grover had found a poodle, a pink poodle. "Grover, what's with the poodle?" Naruto asked. "Oh, there was a reward for her return, so we can use those for our train tickets," Grover explained. When Naruto heard the word train, everything else went mute for Naruto. "Train?" Naruto asked to be sure. "Yeah, why?" Grover asked, now confused. "Oh, thank you, I haven't ridden on a train yet, you know," Naruto admitted, and he was excited for it. Being with the hunt, all he had ridden was a car, and he often flew on the mana to get to other countries and such. He had never rode on a train yet. "Okay," Grover said with a slight sweat drop. "Well, this is Gladiola, say hello," Grover said, pointing at the poodle. "Hello," Naruto said, to which he got a bark. "Hello human, you smell like alcohol," Naruto heard the dog bark. "Oh, that's because I keep a huge amount of it in my storage dimension that I occasionally smell like it," Naruto answered. "You can understand Gladiola?" Grover asked, amazed. "Yeah, it's a gift I got from being in the hunt, as well as an adopted son of Lady Artemis. I can speak to animals," Naruto said, answering Grover's question. "Good morning, Grover," Naruto. "What's with the dog?" Annabeth said as she woke up. "Good morning, Annabeth." Grover said there was a reward for this dog, so he decided to find it, I guess. Naruto answered. "Oh, I see," Annabeth said as she petted the dog. "Hello little guy," Annabeth said as she played with the dog a bit. That was not relaxing. I slept on a stone," Percy whined as he woke up. "Hey Percy, over here, say hello to Gladiola," Grover said, presenting the dog to Percy. "Why, it's just a dog," Percy said offhandedly. "Percy, I said hello to the dog, you say hello to the dog," Annabeth said sternly. "Fine, hello Gladiola," Percy said reluctantly. "Well, what now?" Percy asked, as just then his stomach grumbled. The day went by. They had found the owner of Gladiola, a kind old lady who gave them their payment and a little extra. "Well, at least she gave extra," Grover commented as they had finally gotten their tickets and were now on their way towards the train. "I agree, it will be useful in acquiring some more necessary items for our quest." Naruto agreed wholeheartedly. Having money was a big help in quests. "Well, come on guys, we'll miss the train," Annabeth yelled as she broke into a run towards an open space which was right before the train station proper where passengers board. Seeing this, they broke into a run as well, only to stop when they saw her stop just in front of them, looking at the open space. "Hey Annabeth, what's wrong?" Percy asked as they neared her. "Nay, Nemean lion," Annabeth said shakily as she looked at the biggest lion you would ever see. It was easily as tall as a truck. "Whoa, hey guys, let's find another way around," Grover said as he backed away in fear of the lion. As far as anyone knew, it only died once, and at the hands of Heracles, who had strangled it to death. "No time, we best face it now before we miss our train," Naruto said as he advanced forward. "Are you crazy? We can't beat that thing," Annabeth said. She couldn't believe that anyone would willingly fight the Nemean lion. "Are you sure?" Naruto said challengingly. And as he did, golden portals appeared around the Nemean lion, surrounding it. And by that point, chains came out from the portals binding the Nemean lion. And as Percy, Annabeth and Grover watched, they saw that the Nemean lion struggled to even get up, let alone move. It was totally bound and could not move much at all. Moving towards the Nemean lion, a portal appeared just above Naruto's shoulder with a hilt sticking out of it. It was colored red. Pulling it out, it turned out to be the shaft of a spear, colored like the shaft. It was a bloody red in color. Twirling it around in his hand, it gained a few sparks which flew of the spear blade, and strangely enough it was blood red in color as well. "It's your end, beast guy Bolg," Naruto shouted out the name of his weapon as he thrust it at the ground, only for it to rebound and thrust the lion exactly where its heart was, from the underside of its belly, meaning that it pierced through the soft skin. As the lion dissolved into golden dust, Naruto dissolved his spear in a flash of golden light, and he turned to face his companions. He was greeted with the slag-jawed looks of the three, mixed with awe and amazement. How did you?" Annabeth stuttered out, unable to comprehend what just happened. The Nemean lion was one of the toughest monsters there was, which took Heracles a while to defeat, and here Naruto was standing without a sweat as he defeated the Nemean lion like it was an ordinary monster. "Whoa, that was so cool," Percy and Grover shouted out as they saw what Naruto just did, earning them a chuckle from Naruto, who picked up the vest left by the Nemean lion and replaced it in his pocket dimension. "Well, come along, I doubt we will make our train if we stand here with your mouths open like that," Naruto said humorously as he headed for the train, followed by a still dazed Annabeth and an ecstatic Grover and Percy. If they had him here, the quest was going to be a piece of cake. On board the train, Naruto was busy looking at the scenery from his carriage window. It was after all his first train ride and he wanted to make the most out of it. Hey Naruto, can you answer a question of mine?" Annabeth asked, getting Naruto's attention. "Sure, what do you want to know?" Naruto obliged her. "How did you do that, and what was that weapon?" Annabeth asked, getting Grover, who was awake to listen as well to the blonde's conversation. Percy, on the other hand, was already fast asleep and drooling on the armrest he was leaning on. "Oh, you mean the chains, right?" Naruto confirmed, receiving a nod. "Well, those were a gift to me by my mother Hecate, the chains of the ancient king Gilgamesh, which she uses as well from time to time. Both me and my mother are the only ones who can use it properly for now due to our magic reserves. Its name is Enkidu. The chains of heaven, named after Gilgamesh's only friend in life. The chains themselves can bind anything, even gods. The more connections to the divine you have, the more impossible it is to escape. The chains themselves are a part of my pocket dimension, which my mother told me to call it the Gate of Babylon in honor of the king. It is the second of my 3 main treasures," Naruto said, which amazed Annabeth. "Chains that can bind anything, the more divine? So it would mean gods themselves could never escape on their own." "And that spear you used to kill him?" Annabeth asked once more. "Oh, that one is a spear I got from my travels to Ireland. Its name is Guy Bulg, the legendary spear wielded by Cu Chulainn of Ireland. The spear was enchanted by a powerful witch to always pierce the heart of an enemy. I keep this in my first great treasure, the Gate of Babylon. I got it from the clan Macremets. Come to think about it, I have to fetch the clan head's daughter to join me in my travels as I promised," Naruto said. "Gate of Babylon?" Annabeth questioned. "Yes, it is a pocket dimension I use to keep all of my treasures," Naruto explained, making Annabeth jealous at having an infinite storage space that is portable for its user. Then a thought came to Annabeth. "Wait, you can travel around?" Annabeth said, taking notice. "Yeah, of course I can travel around. My mom is the goddess of crossroads, so I can travel wherever I want," Naruto said proudly. His birth mom was awesome. It allowed him to leave the influence of the gods and travel around. "Wow, that must be nice visiting other countries," Annabeth said happily. "Yeah, thanks to our mother being the same, I also gained an appreciation for architecture as well, so if you want I can take you with me if Lady Athena allows it," Naruto offered kindly. "Thank you," Annabeth said as she hugged Naruto in gratitude. She had always wanted to travel abroad. "Yeah, it's no problem at all. Now let me be, I want to enjoy my time on this train," Naruto said as he went back to watching the window. "It's really your first time, huh?" Grover asked. "What do you mean, Grover?" Annabeth asked the satyr. "Oh," Naruto said, "it was his first time riding a train or something," Grover said offhandedly, answering Annabeth's question. "What, we can't have that, come on Naruto, we have to explore everything then," Annabeth said sternly, surprising Naruto as she dragged him up to explore the different compartments of the train. Up on Olympus, the 4 goddesses Hecate, Hestia, Artemis, and Athena were watching happily as they watched Naruto and Annabeth explore the train via iris message. "So it's really his first time to ride a train, huh?" Athena noted. "Yeah, he usually uses the Vimana when he goes abroad," Hecate said, weighing in. "Yeah, even when he's with my hunters they usually ride in a car. We have yet to take a train anywhere," Artemis said as well. "I see, well then at least he gets to experience it for now while he can," Hestia said with a smile on her face. "Indeed, well let's get back to work before my brother notices us slacking off," Hestia says as she vanishes in a burst of flames, followed by the other 3 goddesses in their own respect element. Back on the train. "And that brings us to the end of our tour," Annabeth said, sounding like a tour guide as she led him throughout the train and its compartments. "Well, as unnecessary as that was, thank you for the tour, Annabeth, I appreciated it," Naruto said with a soft smile on his face, making Annabeth smile in return, happy she was able to please her older sibling. As the two approached Percy and Grover, they could see that the two were in a deep discussion about something. "Hey, what are you guys talking about?" Naruto asked as he neared the 2 boys. "Oh, nothing, just explaining to Percy a few things," Grover said a bit nervously. "I see, well then would any of you like something to eat?" Naruto said in a kind voice. Yes, some snacks would be nice," Percy said humbly, getting nods from the other two as well. I see. Well then, please sit back and enjoy the ride, Naruto said as he made them a bucket of popcorn each, which they happily took and enjoyed the rest of the train ride. When we got off the train, we immediately went towards the city square where there was a whole lot of people, which unnerved Naruto greatly. What's wrong, Naruto? Annabeth asked, noticing his nervousness. Oh, it's nothing, I just hate crowds, Naruto answered, getting a nod from Annabeth, who understood that his childhood trauma still affected him somewhat. Percy on the other hand seemed nervous as he just saw on the television Gabe Ugolino offer a reward for the capture of Percy and the return of his Camaro and Sally. Needless to say, this pissed off Naruto and saddened Percy. Don't worry, you won't have to live with him after this, Naruto said reassuringly, calming Percy down a bit. Thanks man, Percy said. Don't worry too much, seaweed-brained humans can never find us, Annabeth said as she comforted and insulted him at the same time. Oh look, the arch, could we go there please? Annabeth said as she noticed the arch, which was a feat of engineering Naruto could not bring himself to say no to her pleading face. Oh alright, let's just make it quick, alright? Naruto said authoritatively. Getting an excited nod for his answer, Annabeth proceeded to drag him towards the arch, with Grover and Percy struggling to keep up with her pace of walking in the tight space they were given with the crowd. Hey Annabeth, you might want to slow down a bit, it isn't going anywhere, Naruto said right before he noticed a strange smell from the crowd. Ignoring it for now, Annabeth, Grover and Percy got on the elevator with a strange woman with a chihuahua, leaving Naruto up above by accident. Come on baby, just calm down a bit, you will get to eat soon enough, the woman said, calming the dog a bit. Is everything alright ma'am? Grover asked in concern. Yes, it's alright, he's just hungry for food, the woman said while looking at Grover, Percy and Annabeth. Yes, Chimera will be very happy to eat you three, the woman said strangely. Ma'am, did you just call that dog Chimera? Grover noted. Why yes, for I am the mother of all monsters, Echidna, the woman said as she shed her human guise in favor of her monstrous form. It is rare for Zeus to allow me to test a demigod, you know, so haven't you? Echidna said as both she and the chihuahua now turned Chimera lunged at the demigod trio. Well, this is some mess you got yourselves into, Naruto said as he rescued the three demigods from certain death by capturing Echidna and Chimera in chains. Naruto, thank the gods you're here, Annabeth said along with Percy and Grover. HMPH, this should teach you guys not to get separated from each other during a quest, Naruto said as he opened up the gate of Babylon behind him, aiming all of its contents at Echidna and the Chimera. Any last words, beast? Naruto asked Echidna. Die, you half-blooded scum, Echidna roared out. Very well, the king has judged you guilty and the sentence is death, Naruto said sternly as the swords started to fire at Echidna and the Chimera, who could do nothing to dodge or block the attack. But before the Chimera faded, it managed to sting its snake-like tail at Percy, knocking him into a well which led to a stream below. Percy, Annabeth and Grover yelled in concern. It will be fine, Percy will survive, Poseidon will not let his son die in a body of water, Naruto said as he picked up the spoils of war, a bottle of poison from the Chimera and a sharp scale from Echidna. So what do we do? Grover asked Naruto. We wait for him to surface, Naruto said as he sat down on an undamaged bench to wait for Percy, followed by Annabeth and Grover. It took a few minutes for Percy to emerge from the well he was in. He had also relayed to them that an agent from his father told them to head to Santa Monica, where his father would give them something to help with the quest. Shaking it off for now, they decided to walk towards town, where they would look for a place to message the camp. Eventually they came across a closed car wash station where they decided to break in to get inside. Guys, should we be doing this? Percy asked as he saw his buddies just break into the car wash as if it were the most normal thing to do. Remember Percy, we are on a quest, most rules of mortals do not apply to us any longer. The mist covers it up with a more reasonable thing for them to perceive, so worry not about doing anything strange during quests. However, off quests we simply try to behave like mortals, but we are not like them, we are different, we simply try to blend in for their sake if nothing else. Remember that, Naruto explained as Annabeth and Grover went to look for something to make a spray of water. Found it. Ah darn, I need some coins, do any of you have any? Grover said as he held up a spray connected to a machine with various options. Naruto then handed him a quarter, which Grover graciously took and used it to set the spray to find mist. Hey guys, what are you doing with a hose? Percy asked. I am Ing, Annabeth answered simply. Instant messaging? Percy asked cluelessly. No Iris messaging. Iris is the goddess of rainbows and she allows gods and demigods to use rainbows for communication for a small price. Annabeth explained as she threw a drachma into the mist. Camp Half-Blood please, Annabeth asked just as the spray of water shimmered before showing them a view of the camp. Hey Luke. Annabeth called out with a slight blush as she saw Luke pass by the IM mist. Hey guys, been a while, we were beginning to get worried over here, Luke said with a smile as he turned to face the IM mist. Luke, where's Chiron? We need to talk to him? Annabeth asked. Oh, he's busy settling some fights between the Ares and Hermes cabin at the moment. It seems the details of your quest was leaked and the whole camp is picking sides. The Athena, Hermes, Demeter, Apollo and Aphrodite cabins have allied with Poseidon. Ares, Hephaestus, and Dionysus cabins have gone with Zeus, so it's kinda messy back here. I hope you guys find his master bolt soon. Luke explained to the four. I see, well then I guess we better hurry, Naruto said seriously. Just then a car moved near the car wash, blasting their tunes out for a whole block to hear their irritating mix. I'll take care of this, please finish relaying our status, Naruto said as he moved towards the offending car. It was there he saw it was a simple car that had two men in it listening to their music without a care in the world. It was times like this Naruto had to agree with his sisters in the hunt that men really were scum with no care for anything other than themselves. Excuse, you're disturbing everyone, mind turning it down? Naruto asked politely, holding back his irritation. Screw you kid, why don't you just walk away and go back to your mommy, huh? The guy in the driver's seat answered rudely. Perhaps you didn't hear me, I said turn it down please. Naruto said a little more forceful this time. And I said screw you. Now since you don't want to leave, why don't me and my buddy teach ya some manners? The driver said as he got out, as well as his buddy both opening a switch knife. That's all you have? Pathetic mongrels, Naruto said angrily, having been flipped of twice and now they come at him with knives? Oh, the insult, if only they knew. Moving quickly for them to see, he grabbed the hand of the driver which held the knife and threw a punch to the driver's gut, making him keel over in pain and drop the knife he was holding. Hey Maurice, you alright? Damn it kid, I ain't going easy on you now, the other guy said as he tried to stab Naruto from behind. Emphasis on tried. Naruto simply sidestepped the attack, and as he passed by, Naruto simply extended his foot outwards, making the guy trip and fumble to the ground, dropping the knife somewhere on the pavement. Standing up, the guy then tried to punch Naruto out, only for Naruto to knee him in the gut, making him double over in pain, clutching his stomach. Seeing his opponents defeated, Naruto looked through the open door and shut off the music from the radio. You see, if you simply turned it down, this wouldn't have happened, stupid mongrels. Naruto spat as he walked away, his objective finished. Was there any problems? Annabeth asked as she noticed Naruto's return as they had finished telling Luke what had happened so far. No problem, come on, let's get to a diner to get something to eat for now, huh? Naruto said as he led the three into a nearby diner. Hello, how may I help you? A waitress asked the group as they entered. A table for four, please, Naruto said nicely with a smile, making the waitress blush at his attractiveness. Alright, this way, please follow me, the waitress said with a still present blush on her face as she led them to a nearby table that overlooked the street. Please call me when you're ready to order, the waitress said as she walked away from the group, probably to serve more customers. Just as the group was about to order, a Harley motorcycle pulled up onto the driveway parking near the diner, and as he got out, Annabeth, Grover looked confused as he had the same energy as a god, but they did not recognize him. Naruto on the other took one look at him and balled up his fists and growled loudly, making the other three flinch away from him slightly. They had never seen Naruto this angry before. Entering the diner, the motorcyclist saw the four demigods and pulled up a chair nearby to sit with them. What are you doing here, Heracles? Naruto asked angrily with a lot of venom laced into his words. Shocking the other demigods, the man before them was Heracles, the legendary demigod? And to Percy's man, he was a hero, making it seem strange why Naruto was treating him with such anger. Now Brad, I haven't even introduced myself yet, you spoiled my entrance, Heracles said with a smile on his face, evident that he was aware he was pissing Naruto off by the second. Get to the point, you thieving mongrel, I shouldn't have time to waste with you unless it was to finally kill you, Naruto said with such anger, making Annabeth and Grover worry for Naruto since he was pissing off a minor god but still powerful enough to kill mortals. Hey, still got your balls on you, huh? I woulda thought your time with those sluts of Artemis would have taken them away. I guess I was wrong, Heracles said, sounding praising yet insulting at the same time. Don't you dare speak about my sisters that way. Now tell us why you're here, or I swear on the river Styx I will make you fade here and now. Naruto said, full of anger. Hey, good, you'll need all your energy for this. I want you three to go fetch my Kanabo at the water park, Heracles said, ignoring Naruto, making him angrier. Fine, we'll fetch your stupid Kanabo. It's not like you'll get anything better, Naruto said, standing up from the table, followed by Annabeth, Percy and Grover. You know I will strike you down one day for your insults, Heracles said before he vanished. Damn mongrel, Naruto cursed as he walked out of the diner, followed by a confused Annabeth, Percy and Grover. Hey Naruto, wait up, what was that all about? Annabeth asked as she placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder, turning him around. Taking a calming breath, Naruto answered her. He is the cause of all my strife and problems when I was a kid, and now I found out he was also the cause of my sister losing her natural immortality. Naruto answered. What? Annabeth asked, still confused. Remember when I showed you my memories? Naruto asked, getting a nod. Well, the Kyuubi that my father sealed into me was not an accident. The Kyuubi was set loose on Konoha by Heracles. My birth mother, Lady Hecate, before she left the dimension, checked the dwelling place of the Kyuubi only to find it wrecked, and the only thing she could find was pieces of lion hair and the dead corpses of the Kyuubi's mate and children. How does this lead to Heracles, you ask? Well, he is known to constantly wear the vest made from the Nemean lion's defeat as a trophy, and the fact the Kyuubi's mate and children looked like they were bludgeoned to death by a high-impact weapon? That is all Mother needed to know. It was him. He caused all the hatred directed at me as a child simply because he had grown bored of the game in this world. Another thing was that the Kyuubi remembers the smell of his family's killer, and he pointed out it was Heracles when we met before. And just recently I found out he stole my sister's weapon, which she forged from her own divine power, rendering her mortal from his theft until Lady Artemis found her. I will never forgive Heracles, and he is the only god I will never tolerate for whatever reason. Naruto answered as they walked to the water park. No one had it in them to tell Naruto to calm down, as his story had put Heracles before a jury's stand, marking him guilty on all counts. As the group arrived at the gates of the water park, they saw a woman standing there waiting for them. Lady Hera, what do we owe this pleasure? Naruto said as he bowed, as did Annabeth and Grover, while Percy had to be dragged down to kneel. Rise, Naruto, had I known Heracles was going to come to you I wouldn't have done this. I am the one who took his Kanabo in hopes he would get it himself, though now I see he was just as cowardly now as he was then, Hera said in a shockingly kind tone directed at Naruto, making Annabeth and Grover wonder what was the deal with Naruto and the gods. Well, it was no problem at all. I hate the bastard, and I would do anything to annoy him as well, so I would have done the same in your shoes, Lady Hera. So if it's fine, may I have the bastard's Kanabo back so I may return it to its stupid owner? Naruto said with respect to Hera, all the while cursing Heracles since he could not do anything to Naruto even if he hurt Naruto due to Hera's presence. Hera on the other hand was smiling at the young demigod. It was nice to know there was a demigod who was not taken aback with Heracles' achievements and saw him as he was a bastard and a thief. Of course, young Naruto, I shall give you his weapon back. In return I want you to do something for me, Hera said as she handed the Kanabo to Naruto. Of course, Lady Hera, what is your wish? Naruto asked. I want you to throw it as hard as you can to his testicles, Hera said with a sadistic smile on her face which was matched by Naruto. I would be very happy to, Lady Hera, Naruto said as he bowed in glee. Now take care, you lot, Hera said as she vanished into thin air, making Annabeth and Grover gape at how friendly Hera was being to them. Well, let's get going, shall we? Naruto said as he started walking back to the diner, whistling a happy tune as he did. Naruto, what was that? Annabeth asked. Oh, I guess our mutual hatred for the bastard makes her like me or something? I'm not sure yet, Naruto answered as he was confused as well. Annabeth only nodded, not wanting to get any more confused than she already was. Arriving at the diner, they saw Heracles standing by his motorcycle. Here you go, mongrel, Naruto said as he threw the Kanabo with his full strength at Heracles' crotch, as per request of Hera, making Heracles keel over, holding his crotch in pain. That was from Lady Hera, by the way, Naruto said, glaring at Heracles. Damn punk, I will get you back for that. Now take your reward and leave, there's your ride. Heracles said as he vanished, leaving a backpack, and looking where he was pointing was a trailer truck. Well, let's go, I guess? Grover said as he picked up the backpack followed by Percy. Fine, Naruto said as he and Annabeth walked up to the trailer followed by Percy and Grover. The three other demigods still reeling from the events of today, meeting two different gods, one who was unnatural kind and another who turned out to be a jerk. Who knew being a demigod let you learn more than what was written in mythology books? Surely not them. It took them no time at all to break the lock on the trailer and enter through the truck doors, making sure to secure the doors behind them when they entered the truck. Looking at the inside of the truck, they saw something that shocked them. In the truck were several cages with animals in them, and it looked like they were not even fed properly. The antelope had burger steaks in its bowl and several wads of gum stuck on its fur. The lion had vegetables on its bowl and it looked extremely starved out. And in the back corner, Naruto could swear he saw a pair of lion cubs who had no food in their cage at all. What the hell is this? Grover was the first to recover from the shock and was the first to rant about the injustice of it all. Seeing no point in adding to the stress already present, Naruto decided to help the lion while Annabeth and Percy tended to the antelope while Grover checked the other crates to make sure there was no other animal in them. When Annabeth and Percy had finished cleaning the antelope, Naruto had handed them the vegetables found in the lion's cage and they exchanged the bowls so the animals could have a decent meal. Though Naruto took one of the burger steaks and brought it with him to the back of the truck. Naruto, I know we missed dinner, but isn't that a bit much? Percy said as Naruto passed by him only to be ignored. Seeing Naruto's blank response, both Percy and Annabeth followed Naruto to the back only to see him opening a cage letting out two lion cubs. Naruto, what are you doing? Annabeth asked. They looked hungry, so I am letting them eat. Naruto answered as he placed the burger steak at the feet of the cubs and watched as the cubs ate the meat. I see that, but why did you let them out? Annabeth elaborated. Cubs should always be free, and besides I plan to keep them as my companions Saber and Nero, Naruto said as he pointed to the cubs. Saber was a lioness cub with shiny yellow coat to it, while Nero, also a lioness cub, had a slightly red tint to it. Wait, you're keeping them? Percy asked incredulously. Of course, it's far better than leaving them here to starve or worse. Naruto answered resolutely. Seeing that Naruto would not change his mind, Annabeth just decided to go with it. So where will you keep them? Annabeth asked out of curiosity. In the Artemis cabin for now, though I may have to ask you guys in the Athena cabin to watch them from time to time when I leave them in camp, Naruto answered. Wait, you're not staying in camp as a year-rounder? With most of your blood being divine, a lot of monsters will go after you, Annabeth protested. That's why I was raised in the hunt. I can fight all the monsters and come out with a few injuries, or I can just run away, which is why after we finish this quest I'm headed off to London to pick up my traveling companion my birth mother told me to get, Naruto said. London? Why London? Annabeth asked. As far as she knew, no god aside from Artemis and Apollo left the security of the West, and even then they did not have any demigod children outside the West. It's because that's where the Magus Society is. My mother bestowed her gift of magic to man and they all come to gather at the clock tower in London. Since the mist does not extend that far, they have a huge grip on the government to cover up their existence, Naruto explained, amazing Annabeth and Percy, who were still listening. Who knew there was such a world outside the West where they were forced to stay? I wish I could go that far, Annabeth said sadly. You can. My offer for you to accompany me is still open, Naruto said as he brought Annabeth into a one-armed hug, comforting her greatly. Thanks, Annabeth said, closing her eyes, feeling tired from all the events to the day and promptly falling asleep on Naruto's shoulder. Hey, can I come with? Percy said when he saw Annabeth fall asleep, though he did feel a tad bit jealous when he saw Annabeth open up so easily with Naruto. Sorry, I can only bring one, Naruto said plainly. Okay then, Percy said, slightly disappointed. Mother Artemis, can you please bring these cubs to Camp Half-Blood for now, as they would only interfere in this quest, or better yet, can you bring them to the hunt for now? I know my sisters will raise them right. Naruto prayed to Artemis. Somewhere in America, Artemis and her hunters had just set up camp on top of a cliff overlooking the vast wilderness. It was such a shame man no longer cared for such sights, just the things he could make from destroying things like these. Artemis had just ordered her hunters to set up camp when her son's prayer came through to her. Cubs? Artemis thought as she focused her godly vision to see where Naruto was and saw that he had two lion cubs with him. Seeing this, she simply snapped her fingers and the lion cubs appeared at her feet still asleep. Zoe, Phoebe, come here, Artemis shouted out for her hunters. Hearing their names called out, the two huntresses kneeled in front of Artemis. "What is it, milady?" Zoe asked, being the second in command of the hunt for a long time now. "My son Naruto sent us these lioness cubs to raise till he can meet with us once again," Artemis said as she pointed at the sleeping cubs at her feet. At this point it took all the self-control they had not to squeal at how cute the cubs were. "Please take care of them, I leave them in your hands," Artemis said as she walked into her tent, leaving the cubs with the two huntresses. "I see, well, I better take this one and thou shouldst take the other," Zoe said as she picked up Saber in her arms while Phoebe took Nero. Needless to say, it was going to be fun raising them for a few months before Naruto came to get them. Back to Naruto. Seeing the cubs vanish in a flash of light, Naruto thanked his mother and promptly fell asleep, his head leaning on Annabeth's head, which was leaning on his shoulder. Grover, who was still awake, was startled by the flash of light and went to investigate, only to find his three companions fast asleep, with Percy drooling on the antelope as he was using it as a pillow. While Annabeth and Naruto were sleeping against each other like a very close couple, but Grover knew better and thought it was nice that the two siblings were close to each other. Seeing nothing else to do, Grover found his own sleeping spot on top of a few crates where he too fell asleep. The next day, the four members of the quest were woken up abruptly when the truck stopped suddenly and they all banged their heads against something. "Did we arrive yet?" Percy asked, feeling a bit grumpy at the sudden awakening. "Shush," Annabeth chided Percy as she and Naruto heard voices approaching the trailer of the truck. "Hey, what you gonna do with share Mike?" they heard a gruff man ask. "I dunno, maybe pay for a whole lot of hookers, hee hee," the man identified as Mike answered lecherously. "He nice, come on, we gotta check the merchandise first," the first guy said as the demigods could hear them fumble around with the locks of the trailer. Annabeth and Naruto instantly used their items to turn invisible while Percy and Grover hid as well as they could. After a few seconds, the trailer doors finally opened and the two men stepped inside, looking at the lion and the antelope. "Hey, where's the cubs? Those fetch big bucks," the first guys exclaimed. "How should I know you were the one who locked them up?" Mike shouted back. And just before they could attract any attention from people outside, they fell down unconscious, with both Naruto and Annabeth coming out of invisibility right behind them, knocking them out at the same time. "Come on, I don't think we can ride here any longer," Naruto said as he got off the trailer, helping Annabeth down. "Yeah, just wait, I'll just set them free and mark them so they can find the wild again," Grover said as he let the antelope and lion go and watched as they ran past Percy, Annabeth and Naruto without turning to look at them. "Well, at least they'll be free," Naruto commented as they all got of the trailer and started walking who knows where. Hours later they found out they were in Las Vegas, and on the casino and hotel side no less. "Hey guys, why don't we check into a hotel just overnight for now?" Percy said as he was feeling tired from all that walking today. "Yeah, Naruto, we could use some rest for now," Annabeth said, pitching in her 2 cents as well. "Fine, but not that one," Naruto said as he pointed out to the building that said Lotus Hotel and Casino. "What, why not? I don't see anything else around here," Percy whined. "Because that is the den of the Lotus Eaters, who will entrap you with their hospitality. Another is that you lose all sense of time there. A few hours in there may already mean days out here," Naruto explained, getting a socked look from Annabeth. "How do you know this?" Annabeth asked. "I got drawn in, I didn't come out till a month later," Naruto answered. "Oh, so where should we go then?" Annabeth asked. "Hop on," Naruto said as he formed the Vimana, the same Golda ND green ship he made during the Capture the Flag game. "Whoa, that's awesome," Percy said, never having seen it yet. Just hearing about it was cool, seeing it was even better. Annabeth and Grover were in similar states as they had heard how it looked like from the other campers. "Well, come on, don't worry about a thing, I'll go slow so you won't fall off, and the mist will cover it up, so don't worry about mortals seeing us," Naruto said as they noticed it only had one chair and Naruto was sitting on it. Quickly moving over to the ship, they came aboard, finding a spot to sit while Naruto offered Annabeth to sit on Naruto's lap. "Come on, you can sit on my lap, Annabeth, it's a far better view from air," Naruto offered as Annabeth moved towards him. It wasn't that she wasn't cautious, but she trusted him not to do anything, seeing as he was raised by the hunt he wouldn't be perverted like other men. "Sure," Annabeth said as she sat on Naruto's lap, ignoring the look of jealousy Percy had on his face. "Does he like me?" Annabeth questioned when she saw Percy's face. "You know, Annabeth, if he does prove himself worthy, I'm sure Mother would approve, even if she will still hate his guts." Naruto said softly into Annabeth's ear. Was he reading her mind? How? Annabeth asked in bewilderment as the Vimana started to move slowly towards Santa Monica. The look of curiosity on your face as you looked at Percy, Naruto explained, getting a blush from her. Oh, Annabeth stuttered out. The view is quite nice. It must be lovely to see this a lot, huh? Annabeth said as she looked at the night sky when they passed over a forested area where the stars was more visible, like an innumerable amount of them staring and winking down at them. Yes, it is a nice view. I just hope I can show her someday, Naruto said, the deathly quiet. Not even Annabeth, who was near him, couldn't hear him properly. Naruto was then brought back to the thoughts of his sister, or should he call her by her name now, since he clearly was developing feelings for her more than that of an elder sibling. Yes, in his time with the hunt he had grown close to her and in time hoped that he would be able to express his feelings to her and hoped she would do the same. Unfortunately, Hercules had broken her trust before and was unwilling to trust men easily again. Hey Naruto, there's a hotel over there, Annabeth said, bringing Naruto out of his reverie. Oh, let me drop us in a forested part first, Naruto said as he moved the Vimana toward a desolate area where the demigods could get off easily. After getting off, the three demigods went and got a room at the nearby hotel where they would then rest their tired bones, preparing to receive the gift of Poseidon that he had prepared for Percy tomorrow.
That's all for now. If you want to see next part, then please like this video and subscribe my channel. Thank you.